Hey story enthusiasts! This is Cross Naruto bringing you another gem. In this video, we present to you what if Naruto was the Devil King Supreme, the demon who united all factions. Naruto x Venelana x Grayfia, High School DxD. If you enjoy these stories as much as we enjoy sharing them, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Let's dive in. Chapter 1, The spiral rises. The sky cracked open like an egg, bleeding crimson light across the battlefield. Devils from both factions paused mid-fight, weapons still locked, as a humanoid figure fell through the rift. Naruto crashed into the ground with enough force to create a small crater, his body smoking from the dimensional transfer. The last thing he remembered was Sasuke's Chidori meeting his Rasengan, the clash of powers somehow tearing reality itself. "What the hell," he muttered, rising to his feet. The blonde shinobi dusted off his tattered orange and black outfit, taking in the scene around him. Dozens of beings with bat-like wings stared at him in shock. Some looked human, others monstrous. The air itself felt different, heavier, charged with unfamiliar energy. A massive fireball hurtled toward him. Naruto dodged with practiced ease, his shinobi reflexes kicking in before conscious thought. "Hey! I just got here," he shouted, irritated. "Is this how you greet everyone?" A tall devil with aristocratic features and blood-red hair sneered. "A human? In the middle of our territory dispute? Kill him and be done with it. I'm getting real tired of being attacked 5 seconds after arriving somewhere new," Naruto grumbled. He formed a hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 perfect copies of Naruto appeared in puffs of smoke, surrounding the battlefield. The devils froze, murmurs of confusion rippling through their ranks. "That's not human magic," a female devil whispered. "Not devil power either," another added. The red-haired devil launched another attack. "I don't care what he is." Naruto's eyes flashed red, pupils elongating to slits. Golden chakra bubbled across his skin, forming a luminous cloak. The ground beneath his feet cracked as raw power poured off him in waves. "I said enough." His voice carried an inhuman echo. The fighting stopped instantly. Both devil factions retreated several steps, sensing something ancient and dangerous awakening within the stranger. That energy. A silver-haired woman in a maid outfit stepped forward, her eyes narrowed in analysis. "It feels like a dragon, but different. More primal." "Who are you?" demanded a devil with ornate armor. Naruto let his chakra cloak recede slightly. "Naruto Uzumaki, from Konohagakure. And you guys are? You stand in the underworld, human, or whatever you are," the silver-haired woman explained, her voice crisp with authority. "I am Grayfia Lucifuge, queen to Lord Surzex Lucifer." "Underworld? Like, actual hell?" Naruto scratched his head. "Great. Of all the dimensions to land in." The red-haired devil moved to attack again, but Grayfia raised her hand. "Lord Phoenix, wait. This power could be useful to our faction." "Or ours," countered another devil from across the battlefield. Naruto looked between them, quickly grasping the situation. "You guys are in the middle of a civil war or something, right?" "A political dispute," Grayfia corrected. "The old Satan faction believes in devil supremacy and wishes to restart the Great War. The anti-Satan faction, which I serve, seeks peace and cooperation with other factions." Naruto nodded. "So the usual then. Power-hungry assholes versus people who just want to live without everything exploding." Several devils gasped at his bluntness. Grayfia's lips twitched in what might have been the ghost of a smile. "You could put it that way," she conceded. Before anyone could speak further, a massive energy blast tore through the battlefield, killing several devils instantly. From the sky descended a man with 12 jet-black wings, his face twisted in cruel delight. "While you devils squabble amongst yourselves, we fallen angels grow stronger," he announced. "Kokabil, Angel of Stars, will claim this territory today." Naruto watched dozens of fallen angels pour through a magic circle, attacking both devil factions indiscriminately. Children and wounded were caught in the crossfire, their screams cutting through the chaos. "They're targeting non-combatants," Naruto growled, feeling Kurama's anger merge with his own. Without hesitation, he flashed forward, appearing between a young devil child and a light spear. The weapon shattered against his chakra-enhanced palm. "You want to fight?" Golden chakra erupted around Naruto once more, this time forming a complete nine-tails cloak. "I'll give you one." He moved faster than most eyes could track, creating hundreds of shadow clones that began evacuating injured devils while the original engaged Kokabil. "What manner of creature are you?" the fallen angel demanded, creating dual light spears. "The kind that hates bullies," Naruto replied, forming a Rasengan. When it collided with Kokabil's defense, the resulting explosion lit up the underworld sky like a newborn sun. 3 days later, Naruto sat in a lavish room within the Gremory estate, staring out the window at the purple sky of the underworld. His mind replayed his clash with Kokabil, how the fallen angel had retreated after Naruto demonstrated just a fraction of his full power. The door opened, and Grayfia entered with another woman. This second woman carried herself with regal confidence, her flowing brown hair framing a face of timeless beauty. Despite her youthful appearance, Naruto sensed something ancient in her eyes. "Naruto Uzumaki," Grayfia began formally. "May I present Lady Venelana Gremory, matriarch of the Gremory clan." Naruto stood and offered a respectful nod. "Nice place you've got." Venelana raised an eyebrow at his casual greeting. "You've caused quite the stir, Mr. Uzumaki. Defeating a cadre-class fallen angel, saving devil children from both factions, and displaying power unlike anything we've recorded in our histories." "Just did what anyone would do," Naruto shrugged. "That's precisely what makes you interesting," Venelana replied, taking a seat across from him. "Most beings of your apparent power level would have either conquered or destroyed everyone present." Naruto snorted. "I'm not interested in conquering anything. I just want to figure out how to get home." "And where is home exactly?" Grayfia asked, remaining standing. Naruto described the elemental nations, the ninja villages, the Fourth Great Ninja War, and his final battle with Sasuke. As he spoke, memories flooded back, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura, the friends he'd fought alongside, and the dream of becoming Hokage. "So this chakra you mention, it's your world's version of magic?" Venelana asked. "Something like that," Naruto agreed. "Everyone has it, but shinobi trained to use it." "And the creature inside you?" Grayfia inquired. Naruto tensed. "Kurama. The nine-tailed fox. He's not just some creature, he's my partner. A partnership with such a powerful entity." Venelana exchanged glances with Grayfia. "In our world, that would be similar to a sacred gear or a contract with a dragon." "Look, I appreciate the hospitality," Naruto said, "but I need to find a way back. My friends might need me." Venelana leaned forward. "What if I told you that might be impossible? The dimensional gap you described is chaotic and unpredictable. Even our most powerful magic users struggle to navigate it." Naruto's face fell, but determination quickly replaced despair. "Then I'll find another way. I never give up, that's my ninja way." "While you search for that way," Venelana suggested, "perhaps you could assist us with our current, political situation." "You mean the civil war that's not a civil war?" Naruto asked bluntly. Venelana smiled. "Precisely. The old Satan faction grows stronger daily, and the recent fallen angel attacks have weakened our defenses. Someone of your abilities could turn the tide." "I don't fight other people's wars without understanding what I'm fighting for," Naruto replied. "A wise stance," Grayfia commented. "Would you accept an invitation to observe, then? To learn about our world while you search for a way home?" Naruto considered this. "I'll help protect innocent people regardless. But yeah, I'll check out your political stuff too." Might as well learn how things work around here. Excellent, Venelana stood gracefully. There's a gathering of the remaining Mao and clan heads tomorrow. Your presence would be illuminating. After the women left, Kurama's voice rumbled through Naruto's mind. You realize they're trying to use you as a weapon. Yeah, I figured, Naruto replied mentally. But we need allies in this world, and they need help. For now, our interests align. The energy here feels strange, Kurama observed. Demonic, yet different from the chakra we know. It's reacting to my presence in unexpected ways. I noticed that during the fight, Naruto agreed. When I used your chakra, it felt more powerful than usual, like it was feeding off the atmosphere. Be careful, Naruto. We don't know the rules of this world yet. The gathering of devil nobility took place in a massive obsidian castle floating above a lake of fire. Naruto, dressed in formal attire provided by the Gremory household, though he insisted on keeping it orange and black, followed Grayfia through ornate hallways. Remember, she instructed, these are ancient beings with strict protocols. Try not to call anyone an asshole today. No promises, Naruto grinned. The great hall fell silent as they entered. Hundreds of devils from various houses watched Naruto with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. At the front of the room sat 4 imposing figures on elevated thrones, the remaining Mao, leaders of devil kind. Ajuka Beelzebub, Seraphol Leviathan, Falbium Asmodeus, Grayfia introduced them in hushed tones. The Lucifer throne remains empty since Lord Surzex. Her voice faltered slightly. Naruto noticed the pain in her eyes. He was important to you, wasn't he? He was my king, she answered simply, composure returning. A green-haired devil, Ajuka, rose from his throne. We welcome the being who drove back Kokabil and saved devil children without discrimination of faction. Though some question the wisdom of bringing an unknown entity of such power into our most sacred halls, added a voice from the crowd. The speaker was a silver-haired devil with aristocratic features and an aura of ancient malice. Something about him set Naruto's teeth on edge. Rise of him Levon Lucifer, Grayfia whispered. Son of the original Lucifer and one of the most dangerous devils alive. Be wary. The boy clearly lacks proper respect for our traditions, Rise of him continued. Look at him, he doesn't even bow before the Mao. Naruto crossed his arms. Where I come from, respect is earned, not demanded. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Rise of him's eyes narrowed dangerously. You stand in the heart of devil power, creature, surrounded by beings who were ancient when your ancestors still swung from trees. Your power, while impressive, does not grant you immunity from our ways. Rise of him, Venelana stepped forward, her power subtly manifesting around her. He is a guest of House Gremory and saved many of our children. Perhaps we can forgive a newcomer's lack of familiarity with our protocols. Always so soft, Venelana, Rise of him smirked. This is why the old Satan faction grows. The new generation lacks spine. Enough, Ajuka commanded. We gathered to discuss the fallen angel incursions and the civil conflict, not to bicker over etiquette. The meeting proceeded, with various clan heads reporting territory losses and casualties. Naruto listened carefully, building a mental map of the political landscape. The divisions ran deeper than he initially thought. This wasn't just 2 factions but dozens of competing interests loosely aligned. When discussion turned to a recent attack on a devil academy, Naruto couldn't stay silent. You're telling me children were killed, and you're still debating whether to strengthen the border defenses? What's there to discuss? Resources are limited, a noble explained condescendingly. We must prioritize strategic assets. Children are the most strategic asset any society has, Naruto countered. In my village, we'd never abandon our academy students. Your village clearly isn't fighting a multi-front war against beings that can destroy mountains with a thought, the noble replied. Actually, we were, Naruto said flatly. And we still protected our kids first. Seraphol Leviathan, who who had been watching Naruto with interest, clapped her hands. I like him. He's right, you know. Our priorities have become skewed. The question remains, Falbium Asmodeus interjected lazily, what to do about our visitor. His power could dramatically impact our current stalemate if aligned with either faction. I'm not joining any faction, Naruto stated firmly. But I'll help protect innocent people from attacks like Kokabil's. Neutrality is impractical, Ryzavim sneered. Eventually, you'll be forced to choose sides. Why does there have to be sides at all? Naruto challenged. From what I've heard, both factions want what's best for devilkind. You just disagree on methods. Such naivety, Ryzavim laughed. Let me demonstrate the true nature of devil politics. Without warning, he launched a devastating attack directly at Naruto. The energy blast carried such malevolence that several nearby devils recoiled in fear. Naruto didn't move. The attack hit him directly, and dispersed harmlessly against his skin, which briefly glowed with a red-golden light. That was rude, Naruto commented mildly. Want to try again? The hall erupted in shocked whispers. No one had ever casually shrugged off an attack from Ryzavim before. Interesting, Ryzavim's eyes gleamed with dangerous curiosity. Very interesting indeed. If we're done with the demonstrations, Ajuka interrupted, perhaps our visitor would like to speak for himself. Tell us, Naruto Uzumaki, what are your intentions in our realm? All eyes turned to Naruto. He took a deep breath, remembering the lessons of diplomacy Kakashi had tried to instill in him. I'm trying to find a way home, he began honestly. But while I'm here, I won't stand by and watch innocent people suffer. In my world, I fought for peace between nations that had been enemies for generations. I believe in finding common ground. Pretty words, someone scoffed. Not just words, Naruto countered. I already proved it by saving devils from both factions during Kokabil's attack. The boy has a point, Venelana supported. His actions speak louder than our endless debates. Ajuka studied Naruto thoughtfully. What would you propose, then? A joint defensive effort, Naruto suggested. Forget your internal squabbles for now and focus on protecting your borders from outside threats. Once your people are safe, you can go back to arguing about who should be in charge. Simplistic, Ryzavim dismissed. Sometimes simple works, Naruto shrugged. My sensei always said we overcomplicate things when we're afraid to face the real problem. And what do you think is our real problem? Seraphal asked, genuinely curious. Naruto looked around the room. You're all so caught up in what devil society used to be that you're not seeing what it could become. His words hung in the air, striking closer to home than many would admit. Before anyone could respond, the castle shook violently. A devil guard burst into the hall. We're under attack. Fallen angels and rogue exorcists have breached the southern perimeter. Chaos erupted as nobles rushed to escape. The Mao began organizing defenses, but Naruto was already moving. He leapt from a window, golden chakra flaring around him as he assessed the situation. Hundreds of fallen angels darkened the sky, led by a familiar figure. Kokabil had returned with reinforcements. Round 2, Naruto muttered, creating a massive Rasengan. The battle raged across the skies of the underworld. Naruto's shadow clones fought alongside devils from both factions, temporarily united against the common threat. He spotted Grayfia freezing dozens of fallen angels with incredible ice magic, while Venelana demonstrated why the Gremory clan was feared, unleashing waves of destruction power. Kokabil laughed maniacally as he bombarded the castle. The so-called leaders of devil kind, hiding while their realm burns. They're not hiding, Naruto appeared directly above him. They're just letting me handle you first. The ensuing clash leveled a nearby mountain. Naruto's tailed beast mode activated fully, the spectral form of Kurama materializing around him. Devils and fallen angels alike paused in awe at the sight of the massive nine-tailed fox made of golden energy. This one is annoying, Kurama growled, his voice audible to all present. Yeah, let's finish this quickly, Naruto agreed. When Kokabil unleashed his full power, Naruto countered with a tailed beast bomb. The resulting explosion created a new lake in the underworld's landscape. As the dust settled, Naruto stood over the defeated Kokabil, who stared up in disbelief. What are you? The fallen angel gasped. Just a shinobi a long way from home, Naruto replied. Take a message back to your leaders, the underworld is off limits for unprovoked attacks. Next time, I won't be so gentle. He turned to find a small crowd of devils watching him in amazement. Among them stood Venelana and Grayfia, both slightly disheveled from battle but unharmed. That was. Venelana seemed at a loss for words. Pretty awesome, right? Naruto grinned, his chakra mode fading. Though I think I might have changed the geography a bit. Sorry about that. You apologize for reshaping mountains after single-handedly defeating a cadre-class fallen angel, Grayfia observed with a hint of amusement. You are a strange being, Naruto Uzumaki. The surviving fallen angels retreated, carrying their wounded leader. As the immediate danger passed, the political divisions began to resurface. Devils from opposing factions eyed each other warily, the temporary alliance already fracturing. Don't do it, Naruto warned, sensing the rising tensions. You just fought together. Don't throw that away. Our differences remain, a devil noble stated coldly. Yeah, but so do your similarities, Naruto countered. You all protected this place together. Build on that. Ajuka approached, his calculated gaze moving between Naruto and the slowly dispersing crowd. Your power exceeds what we anticipated. The energy you wield, it's not devil, angel, or dragon. It's chakra, Naruto explained. Life energy where I come from. Though Kurama's chakra is special. They sense it, Kurama communicated privately. The demonic atmosphere here is reacting to my chakra, amplifying it. It feels as if the very foundations of the underworld respond to your power, Ajuka observed. Fascinating. I would like to study this phenomenon further. Before Naruto could respond, screams erupted from a collapsed section of the castle. Several devil children were trapped beneath the rubble, their parents frantically trying to reach them. Without hesitation, Naruto created shadow clones and rushed to help. Using careful applications of chakra, he and his clones lifted massive sections of debris while others extracted the children. Some were injured, and Naruto wished Sakura were there with her medical jutsu. A small devil girl with crimson hair clung to him after being rescued, sobbing against his chest. I was so scared, she whispered. It's okay to be scared, Naruto told her gently. Being brave doesn't mean not feeling fear. It means acting despite it. He looked up to see Venelana watching him, something unreadable in her expression. That's my granddaughter, she explained as she approached. Ryasa's daughter. The girl reluctantly let go of Naruto and ran to Venelana, who embraced her warmly. The tenderness in the powerful devil woman's eyes revealed a different side to her. Thank you, Venelana said simply. Naruto nodded, then turned to help with more rescue efforts. As he worked, he noticed devils from both factions setting aside their differences to save their young. It gave him hope that reconciliation wasn't impossible. Later that evening, exhausted but satisfied, Naruto sat on a balcony overlooking the recovering underworld. The unfamiliar constellations reminded him how far he was from home. You miss your world, Grayfia's voice came from behind him. Yeah, Naruto admitted. My friends, my village, everything I fought to protect. She sat beside him, uncharacteristically informal. I reviewed our ancient texts today. There are legends of beings traveling between dimensions, though most are just myths. But not all. Naruto perked up. There's one consistent account of a ritual involving the convergence of multiple types of energy, demonic, holy, dragon, and natural. If your chakra is as fundamental as you describe, it might serve as the natural component. Hope flickered in Naruto's chest. so there might be a way back. Perhaps, Grayfia cautioned. But such a ritual would require cooperation between factions that have been enemies for millennia. Naruto smiled. Good thing I specialize in the impossible, then. Indeed. She studied him curiously. You've made quite an impression today. Already, devils are whispering about the Golden Fox Warrior. Great, another nickname, Naruto laughed. As long as they don't call me brat, I'm good. A comfortable silence fell between them, broken only when Venelana joined them on the balcony. The children are asking for stories about you, she informed Naruto with amusement. You've become something of a hero overnight. I'm no hero, Naruto demurred. Just did what needed doing. A rare quality in the underworld, Venelana noted. Most here act solely for personal gain or faction advantage. Maybe that's your problem, Naruto suggested. Where I come from, the will of fire teaches us to protect the next generation above all else. It's what binds our village together despite our differences. Will of fire? Venelana repeated thoughtfully. The belief that love is the key to peace, Naruto explained. That when you have people precious to you, true strength emerges. An unusual philosophy for a warrior, Grayfia commented. It's exactly because I'm a warrior that I believe it, Naruto replied. I've seen what hatred does. I've carried it, fought it, and overcome it. Love is stronger, every time. Something shifted in the atmosphere between them, a moment of genuine connection transcending their different origins. The moment was shattered when a servant rushed onto the balcony. My ladies. Urgent news, the old Satan faction has seized the western territories. Lord Rizavim has declared himself the true Lucifer and demands all devils pledge fealty or face destruction. Venelana's expression hardened. So he makes his move at last. He was waiting for a moment of vulnerability after the fallen angel attack, Grayfia analyzed. Calculating as always. What will you do? Naruto asked. The two devil women exchanged glances. Venelana spoke first. House Gremory stands with the current Mao system. We will not bow to Rizavim's tyranny. The remaining loyal houses must unite, Grayfia added. But our forces are depleted after today's battle. Naruto stood, determination etched on his features. Then it's a good thing you've got me on your side. You would fight for us? Venelana asked. This isn't your war. I told you, I protect innocent people, Naruto stated firmly. Besides, Rizavim has serious Madara vibes, and I've had enough of megalomaniacs who think might makes right. Madara? Grayfia questioned. Long story, Naruto waved dismissively. Point is, I'll help. But I do things my way. And what way is that? Venelana inquired. Naruto grinned, a plan already forming in his mind. First, we need to talk to those kids I rescued. I have a feeling they might be our secret weapon. Rizavim Levon Lucifer sat upon a throne of obsidian and bone, accepting pledges of loyalty from terrified devil nobles. His coup had been perfectly timed, with the underworld recovering from the fallen angel attack and the current leadership in disarray, many houses chose surrender over annihilation. Lord Lucifer, a servant bowed deeply. A messenger from House Gremory requests audience. Rizavim smiled cruelly. Send them in. I look forward to Venelana's surrender. Instead of a formal envoy, a single figure walked into the throne room, Naruto, dressed not in formal attire but in his repaired shinobi gear, complete with Konoha headband. Yo, Naruto greeted casually. Nice throne. Compensating for something? Rizavim's amusement turned to rage. The human pet dares to mock me? In my own stronghold. Guards moved to seize Naruto, but he remained relaxed. Before you do anything stupid, you should know this is just a shadow clone. The real me is elsewhere, doing something you're really not going to like. What nonsense is this? Rizavim demanded. I visited all those devil kids I rescued yesterday, Naruto's clone explained. Told them stories about my world, about the will of fire, about standing up to bullies. They had lots of questions about why grown-up devils fight each other instead of protecting them. Rizavim's eyes narrowed. If you think children's opinions matter in devil politics, oh, I didn't stop with the kids, the clone continued. I sent other clones to every territory, talking to regular devils, shopkeepers, farmers, soldiers. Asked them if they preferred peace or constant war. Their answers were pretty interesting. Enough. Rizavim rose from his throne. What is your purpose here, clone? Distraction, the clone grinned. And time's up. Throughout the underworld, in every major territory including those Rizavim had just claimed, Naruto's shadow clones transformed into his tailed beast mode simultaneously. These giant golden foxes became beacons visible for hundreds of miles, their chakra resonating with the very fabric of the underworld. Each fox carried the same message, broadcast in Naruto's voice, people of the underworld. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm not a devil, angel, or any being you know. I came here by accident, but I've seen enough to know you deserve better than endless war. Your leaders fight for power while your children live in fear. Where I come from, we call this the cycle of hatred, and I'm here to break it. At the western stronghold, Rizavim watched in growing fury as his newly conquered subjects gathered outside, looking up at the massive chakra fox hovering above. Both factions have valid points, Naruto's message continued. The old ways had strength, the new ways offer progress. But fighting each other only makes you vulnerable to outside enemies. The fallen angels attacked because you were divided. How many more will die before you see that your real enemies are counting on your division? Silence him. Rizavim commanded his forces. They launched attacks at the chakra fox, but their magic passed harmlessly through the construct. Meanwhile, at the Gremory estate, the Real Naruto stood with Venelana and Grayfia, channeling chakra to maintain hundreds of clones across the underworld. The children you all fight to control are watching, his message resonated everywhere. They're learning from your example. What future are you creating for them? One of endless bloodshed, or one of progress through cooperation? Venelana watched in amazement as Naruto coordinated this unprecedented demonstration. You're reaching more devils in 1 hour than we have in decades of political maneuvering. Sometimes people need to hear the obvious from an outsider, Naruto replied, sweat beading on his forehead from the strain of maintaining so many tailed beast mode clones. Throughout the underworld, devils of all ranks listened, some scoffing, others thoughtful, many hopeful. I challenged the leaders of both factions to meet on neutral ground, not to fight, but to talk. Bring your grievances, your fears, your hopes. I'll moderate as someone with no stake in your politics. If you truly care about the future of devil kind, prove it by having the courage to face each other with words instead of weapons. In the western stronghold, Rizavim destroyed his throne in rage. This outsider dares to undermine millennia of devil tradition with pretty speeches. But already, nobles who had reluctantly pledged to him were exchanging glances, wondering if the strange newcomer offered a better path. Naruto's chakra foxes began to fade, having delivered their message. The clone facing Rizavim offered a final taunt, by the way, I invited the current Mao to this peace conference too. Sounds like they're in. Balls in your court now, Gramps. With that, the clone vanished in a puff of smoke. Back at the Gremory estate, Naruto collapsed to one knee, drained from the massive chakra expenditure. Grayfia moved to support him, concern briefly breaking through her stoic demeanor. That was reckless, she admonished, helping him to a chair. You could have depleted your energy reserves entirely. Worth it, Naruto panted. Did you see their faces? Devils everywhere were listening. A bold move, Venelana agreed. But Rizavim won't take this challenge. It would legitimize the current Mao system just by acknowledging it. He'll come, Naruto stated confidently. His ego won't let him refuse. He needs to prove he's smarter than me. And are you prepared for what happens if this peace conference fails? Grayfia asked. Naruto's expression turned serious. It won't fail because I won't let it. I've seen what happens when hatred wins. Not again, not in any world I'm in. His determination was so palpable that neither woman could doubt him. Something about Naruto Uzumaki defied logical assessment. He believed impossible things with such conviction that reality itself seemed to bend to accommodate him. The meeting is set for 3 days from now, Venelana noted. Until then, you should rest and recover your strength. Can't, Naruto stood, already regaining his energy. There's too much to do. I need to understand more about your political system, your history, what drives both sides. And I need to check out this ritual Grayfia mentioned. My way home might depend on getting these factions to work together. Grayfia raised an eyebrow. You believe you can master centuries of devil politics in 3 days? Naruto grinned, forming a hand sign. Shadow clone jutsu. 20 clones appeared, each saluting smartly. Research team, hit the library, learn everything about devil history and politics. 5 clones departed immediately. Reconnaissance team, visit different territories, talk to regular devils, understand their daily concerns. Another 5 vanished. Diplomatic team, meet with nobles from both factions, hear their perspectives directly. 5 more disappeared. And you 5, help with rebuilding efforts from the recent attacks. Show everyone we're serious about protecting all devils. As the final clones departed, Naruto turned to the astonished devil women. When they disperse, all their knowledge comes back to me. It's how I learned the Rasengan in a week instead of years. Extraordinary, Venelana murmured. Your abilities continue to surprise. If I may ask, Grayfia inquired, what will you do personally while your clones handle these tasks? Naruto's expression softened. I want to visit that devil school that was attacked. The kids there need to know someone's fighting for their future, not just using them as political pawns. Venelana's eyes widened slightly. You truly prioritize the children. Always, Naruto confirmed. There why any of this matters. As he departed, the 2 devil women exchanged meaningful looks. He's unlike anyone we've encountered, Grayfia observed. Indeed, Venelana agreed. And that may be exactly what the underworld needs right now. The Devil Academy had been partially rebuilt, with magical barriers now protecting the grounds. Children of various ages practiced magic or studied texts on demonic history. They fell silent as Naruto arrived, then erupted in excited whispers. It's him. The Fox Warrior. Did you see the golden foxes yesterday? A young teacher approached, bowing respectfully. Naruto Uzumaki. The children have spoken of nothing else since you saved many of their classmates. Just checking to make sure everyone's okay, Naruto replied, uncomfortable with the formality. And maybe share some stories from my world, if that's allowed. The teacher's eyes lit up. The children would be honored. Soon, Naruto sat cross-legged in the academy courtyard, surrounded by eager young devils. Their innocent curiosity reminded him painfully of the academy in Konoha, of Iruka-sensei, and his own childhood dreams. So in your world, you started training to be a ninja at our age? A boy asked. Yeah, though I wasn't very good at first, Naruto admitted, earning surprised gasps. What? You thought I was born awesome? Nope. I failed the graduation exam 3 times. But how did you become so powerful? A girl with silver hair inquired. Naruto's expression turned thoughtful. By never giving up. By finding people precious to me and fighting to protect them. By believing I could change things even when everyone said I couldn't. He told them about his childhood as a Jinchuriki, the loneliness, the struggle for acknowledgement, finding friends who believed in him. He described Team 7, the Chunin exams, his training with Jiraiya, and the hardships that shaped him. The children listened in rapt attention, especially when he spoke of Kurama, how their relationship evolved from hatred to partnership. So the fox isn't controlling you? A small boy asked fearfully. I could if I wanted to, Kurama's voice rumbled playfully, causing the children to jump in surprise. But this kid's too stubborn. Kurama. Naruto scolded, though he was smiling. Don't scare them. They're devil children. They should be scarier, the fox grumbled, but without malice. The children giggled, fear transforming to delight at interacting with the mysterious entity. Can we see him? Several asked simultaneously. Naruto glanced at the teacher, who nodded permission. With a gentle surge of chakra, he manifested a small version of Kurama's head, just big enough for the children to appreciate the fox's features without being overwhelming. Happy now? Kurama huffed as the children stared in wonder. One brave girl reached out to touch the chakra construct. He's warm, she announced, surprised. That's because Kurama isn't just destruction and power, Naruto explained. His chakra is life energy too. In my world, the tailed beasts were originally part of one being that created all things. As the children cautiously approached to touch the miniature Kurama, Naruto noticed several adult devils watching from a distance, their expressions ranging from concern to wonder. Your world sounds amazing, a boy sighed. Not like here, where grown-ups just fight all the time. Naruto ruffled his hair. My world had plenty of fighting too. That's why I worked so hard to change things. Can you change things here too? A girl asked hopefully. I'm trying, Naruto promised. That's why I called for the peace meeting. But change starts with you guys too. With us? Several children looked confused. Sure. When you grow up, will you continue the same old fights, or create something new? The future belongs to you, not to the old guys making all the decisions now. The teacher cleared her throat, though she was smiling. Perhaps we shouldn't encourage rebellion quite so directly, Mr. Uzumaki. Not rebellion, Naruto clarified. Evolution. Every generation should improve on the last one's work, not just repeat it. As the impromptu lesson concluded, Naruto created shadow clones to play with the children while he spoke with the academy's headmaster. The elderly devil had concerns about the upcoming peace conference. While your intentions seem noble, the headmaster began, devil politics are complicated by thousands of years of grievances and power struggles. I get that, Naruto acknowledged. But sometimes it takes an outsider to see solutions that tradition blinds you to. What solution do you propose for factions that fundamentally disagree on whether devils should dominate other races or coexist with them? Naruto considered this. In my world, we had the same problem. Some believed shinobi were weapons to be used for dominance, others believed in cooperation. We found a middle path, strength without conquest, pride without oppression. And you believe such a compromise is possible here? I believe devils are smart enough to see that endless civil war benefits no one except your enemies, Naruto replied. Pride in your heritage doesn't require subjugating others. Strength doesn't have to mean cruelty. The headmaster studied him thoughtfully. You speak with remarkable wisdom for one so young. Naruto laughed. Trust me, I earned it the hard way. As he prepared to leave the academy, Naruto found himself surrounded one last time by the children, many offering drawings they'd made of him and Kurama. Will you come back and tell us more stories? A small girl asked, tugging on his sleeve. Naruto knelt to her level. Count on it. And next time, I'll show you how to do a transformation jutsu. Promise? She pressed. I never go back on my word, Naruto assured her. That's my ninja way. Over the next 2 days, Naruto's clones gathered intelligence from across the underworld while he personally met with key figures from both factions. His unique status as an outsider with overwhelming power yet no political ambition made Devil surprisingly willing to speak openly with him. On the eve of the peace conference, Naruto sat with Venelana and Grayfia in the Gremory library, reviewing what he'd learned. The old Satan faction has legitimate concerns about devil identity being diluted, he acknowledged. And the current Mao system does make compromises that traditionalists find uncomfortable. Yet you still believe reconciliation is possible? Grayfia asked. The rank-and-file devils on both sides want the same things: safety, prosperity, a future for their children, Naruto pointed out. It's mainly the leadership clinging to ideological purity. Speaking of leadership, Venelana interjected, Rise of him confirmed his attendance today, with conditions. Let me guess, extra security, neutral location, limited attendees. Naruto predicted. All of those, plus one unusual request. Venelana handed him a scroll. He wants a private conversation with you before the formal negotiations begin. Naruto's eyes narrowed. A trap? Possibly, Grayfia admitted. Though a direct assault on you would be unwise, given what we've seen of your capabilities. More likely he wishes to take your measure personally, Venelana suggested. Or perhaps attempt to sway you to his side. Naruto laughed. Good luck with that. Do not underestimate him, Grayfia warned. Rise of him is ancient and cunning. His power is matched only by his capacity for cruelty. I've faced worse, Naruto said confidently. Guys like him are all the same, they mistake fear for respect and control for strength. Nevertheless, proceed with caution, Venelana advised. The future of the underworld may depend on tomorrow's outcome. As the women departed to finalize preparations, Naruto remained in the library, reviewing ancient texts about dimensional travel. Grayfia's research had identified several promising leads, including a ritual that might open a pathway back to the elemental nations. You're distracted, Kurama observed internally. Just thinking about home, Naruto admitted. Everyone must be worried. Kakashi-sensei, Sakura, all of them. Yet you've thrown yourself into this world's problems with typical Uzumaki abandon, the fox noted, not unkindly. What else could I do? Stand by while innocent people suffer. That's not who we are. No, Kurama agreed. Though I've noticed something interesting about this world's reaction to my chakra. The demonic energy here doesn't just amplify it, it resonates with it, almost as if. As if what? Naruto pressed when the fox fell silent. As if this realm recognizes me somehow. I've felt it since we arrived, a familiarity I can't explain. Before Naruto could question further, he sensed a presence in the doorway. Venelana had returned, watching him with an unreadable expression. Sorry, she said when he noticed her. I didn't mean to interrupt your conversation. You could hear Kurama? Naruto asked, surprised. Not his words, but I could sense the exchange of energy, she explained. It's fascinating, two distinct consciousnesses sharing one form, yet neither dominating the other. Naruto grinned. Took us a while to get there. We hated each other at first. Yet now you are partners, Venelana observed. It gives me hope that perhaps devils who have been enemies for centuries might find common ground as well. That's the plan, Naruto nodded. Though Kurama was just telling me something weird, he feels some kind of connection to this world, like the underworld recognizes his chakra. Venelana's eyes widened slightly. There are ancient legends of primordial entities that existed before the biblical God created the current system. Beings of pure energy that some scholars believe might have been the templates for what later became angels, devils, and other supernatural races. You think Kurama might be connected to those? Naruto asked. It would explain the underworld's unusual response to his chakra, Venelana suggested. And perhaps why you've adapted so quickly to our realm despite being human. I am much older than I look, Kurama rumbled, audible to both of them now. And my father, the sage of 6 paths, possessed power that transcended normal human understanding. This connection might be relevant to your search for a way home, Venelana noted. If your energy is fundamentally compatible with our world's fabric, manipulating dimensional boundaries might be easier than we thought. A servant interrupted them with news that final preparations for tomorrow's conference were complete. Venelana excused herself, leaving Naruto to ponder these new possibilities. As he prepared for bed that night, Naruto stood on his balcony, gazing at the alien sky. Home felt simultaneously closer and more distant than ever. Part of him burned to return to the elemental nations, to his friends and the life he knew. Yet in just a few days, he'd formed connections here too, with the devil children, with Venelana and Grayfia, even with this strange world itself. One step at a time, he told himself. First, help these people find peace. Then find a way home. That's the plan. With that resolution, he finally sought rest, knowing tomorrow would test everything he believed about the power of understanding to overcome hatred. The peace conference was held at an ancient temple that predated the Great War, one of the few neutral locations acknowledged by all supernatural factions. Stone pillars encircled an open-air amphitheater, with the participating devils seated in two distinct groups facing each other across a central dais. Naruto arrived early for his private meeting with Ryzavim. The ancient devil waited alone in a side chamber, his silver hair gleaming in the torchlight. The anomaly arrives, Ryzavim greeted him. The being who presumes to lecture devils on their own affairs. Nice to see you too, Naruto replied casually, taking a seat without waiting for permission. Let's skip the posturing. What do you really want from this meeting? Ryzavim's eyes narrowed, then unexpectedly, he laughed. Direct. Refreshing, in its way. Very well, I wish to understand what drives you. Most beings of your power level would establish dominance, yet you advocate peace. He spoke the last word as if it tasted foul. Because I've seen where the alternative leads, Naruto explained. Endless cycles of revenge, pain creating more pain until nothing remains but hatred. Spoken like a true idealist, Ryzavim dismissed. Yet you fail to understand our nature. Devils thrive on conflict. It defines us. This push for cooperation with other races, angels, fallen angels, humans, it dilutes what makes us devils. Does it? Naruto challenged. Or does it just change what being a devil means? Evolution isn't loss, it's growth. Philosophical platitudes from a being who's spent mere days in our realm, Ryzavim scoffed. I get that you're afraid, Naruto said bluntly. Ryzavim's power flared dangerously. Afraid? I have lived for millennia, child. I witnessed the creation of the 72 pillars. I fought in the Great War when your ancestors were still evolving opposable thumbs. And that's exactly why you're afraid, Naruto persisted, unfazed by the power display. The world is changing, and you're not sure if there's still a place for what you represent. Your entire identity is built on being a devil of the old ways. For a moment, genuine surprise flickered across Ryzavim's features. Then his mask of contemptuous amusement returned. Fascinating analysis. Incorrect, but fascinating. I seek to preserve devil supremacy because it is our birthright. The current leadership would have us as mere players on the cosmic stage rather than its directors. And how's that working out for devil kind? Naruto asked. Constant civil war, vulnerable to outside attacks, children growing up in fear, sounds like a recipe for extinction, not supremacy. A temporary state, Ryzavim waved dismissively. Once proper leadership is restored, you mean once you're in charge, Naruto interrupted. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Not devil traditions or identity, but your personal power. Ryzavim's eyes flashed dangerously. You understand nothing. I understand more than you think, Naruto replied calmly. I've met guys like you before. You talk about greater causes, but it always comes back to your ego, your vision, your control. The ancient devil studied Naruto with new intensity. You truly believe what you're saying, don't you? This isn't political maneuvering, you genuinely think peace is achievable. I know it is, Naruto stated firmly. Because the alternative is mutual destruction. And despite what you think about devil nature, I'm pretty sure most devils prefer living to dying for outdated ideologies. We shall see, Ryzavim rose, indicating the meeting was concluding. I agreed to this conference out of curiosity. Let us discover if reality conforms to your optimism or my experience. As they entered the amphitheater, Naruto noticed Venelana and Grayfia seated with the current malfaction. They watched him closely, likely concerned about his private meeting with Rizavim. The conference began formally, with representatives from both sides stating their positions. As Naruto had predicted, the rhetoric quickly devolved into accusations and counter-accusations, centuries of grievances bubbling to the surface. "This is pointless," a noble from the old Satan faction eventually declared. "They will never acknowledge the superiority of true devil bloodlines. And you will never accept that adaptation ensures survival," Ajuka Beelzebub countered. Before the argument could escalate further, Naruto stepped onto the central dais. "I've been listening to you all talk about what makes a true devil," he began. "But I haven't heard anyone mention what should be your priority, the future of all devils, regardless of faction." "The boy presumes to lecture us again," someone muttered. "Yeah, I do," Naruto acknowledged without embarrassment. "Because sometimes it takes an outsider to point out what should be obvious. You're all so focused on who's right that you've forgotten what actually matters." He created a shadow clone that transformed into a perfect replica of one of the devil children he'd met at the academy. "This is your future," Naruto stated simply. "Not ideologies, not traditions, not power structures, children who will inherit whatever world you create for them." The amphitheater fell silent as the clone spoke in a child's voice. "Why do the grown-ups always fight instead of protecting us?" Naruto dispelled the clone and continued. "Every devil I've met, from both factions, wants security and prosperity for their people. You disagree on how to achieve it, but the goal is the same." "Oversimplification," Rizavim dismissed. "Maybe," Naruto conceded. "But sometimes the most important truths are simple. You have common enemies, angels who would destroy you, humans who would hunt you, fallen angels who would conquer you. Why waste strength fighting each other?" He turned to the old Satan faction. "You value tradition and devil pride. That doesn't have to mean war or domination." Then to the current Mao supporters, "And you want progress and adaptation. That doesn't have to mean abandoning what makes devils unique." "Pretty words," a noble scoffed. "But meaningless without practical application." "Then let's get practical," Naruto challenged. "I propose a unified council with representation from both factions. Major decisions require majority support from both sides, ensuring neither can dominate the other." Murmurs spread through the amphitheater. The proposal was simple yet addressed the core fear of each faction, being controlled by the other. "Impossible," someone declared. "The ideological differences are too vast." "Are they?" Naruto questioned. "Or are they mostly about who holds power? Because if you actually care about Devilkind's future, you'll find a way to work together." He paused, letting his words sink in. Then, unexpectedly, he activated his chakra cloak, golden energy illuminating the amphitheater. "I could force a resolution," he stated quietly. "With what you've seen of my power, I could make demands that neither faction could refuse. But that's not why I'm here." The chakra cloak faded. "I'm here because I believe you can solve this yourselves, if you actually try. If you're willing to put aside ego and history for the sake of your children's future." A heavy silence fell over the gathering. Then, surprisingly, Venelana stood. "House Gremory supports Naruto Uzumaki's proposal for a unified council," she announced. "We have lost too many to this internal conflict already." Others from the current Mao faction quickly voiced their agreement. The old Satan faction remained silent until, unexpectedly, a noble known for his hardline views stood. "While I maintain that devil supremacy is our birthright," he began cautiously, "I cannot deny that our current division serves only our enemies. I would consider the council proposal, with appropriate guarantees for traditional houses." More voices joined, from both sides. Not universal agreement, but enough to start a genuine dialogue. For the first time, devils from opposing factions began discussing specific governance structures rather than arguing ideology. Ryzavim watched with calculated interest, neither supporting nor opposing the emerging consensus. When Naruto caught his eye, the ancient devil offered the slightest nod, not approval, but acknowledgement. As the discussion continued productively, Grayfia approached Naruto. "You've achieved in hours what we couldn't in decades," she observed quietly. "I just reminded them of what they already knew," Naruto replied. "Sometimes people get so caught up in being right that they forget why they started arguing in the first place. Nevertheless, this represents a significant shift in devil politics," she noted. "One that will not be without consequences." "Good consequences, I hope," Naruto said optimistically. "Time will tell," Grayfia answered, more cautious. "But for now, you should know that Ajuka wishes to speak with you about the dimensional research. He believes he's found something relevant to your situation." Naruto's heart leapt. "About getting home?" "Possibly," Grayfia confirmed. "Though it may depend on exactly what happened during your arrival here." As the peace conference continued toward what seemed like a promising conclusion, Naruto found his thoughts split between two worlds, the one he'd left behind and the one he was helping to reshape. Whatever came next, he realized he was no longer simply a visitor here. For better or worse, Naruto Uzumaki had become part of the underworld story. And as for Kurama's strange connection to this realm, that mystery remained to be explored. Chapter 2, Bonds Beyond Worlds. 6 months could change everything. Naruto stood at the massive windows of his castle. Yeah, he had an actual castle now, gazing out at the underworld landscape that had become weirdly familiar. Purple skies, floating islands, rivers of what looked like liquid fire but somehow wasn't, home sweet home. Sort of. "Still feels weird, doesn't it?" he asked Kurama mentally. "Being called, Your Majesty, by beings older than human civilization?" "Yes, decidedly strange," the fox replied dryly. Naruto chuckled, adjusting the formal robes he'd been convinced to wear for official business. Black with orange trim, he'd insisted on keeping some orange, and embroidered with a spiral pattern that echoed his former village symbol. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called, still not entirely comfortable with the formality his position apparently demanded. Grayfia stepped in, immaculate as always in her maid uniform despite now being his chief advisor rather than servant. Old habits died hard. "The angel delegation has arrived," she announced. "Seraph Gabriel leads them personally." "Wow, they sent the big guns," Naruto whistled. "Guess Michael's taking this seriously." "An unprecedented summit between the new Devil King and Heaven's forces deserves nothing less," Grayfia replied. She paused, studying him. "Are you nervous?" "Me?" "Nah," Naruto grinned, then dropped the facade. "Okay, maybe a little. Last time I met with angels, they tried to smite me because my chakra felt demonic but wrong to them. Your diplomatic skills have improved considerably since then," she assured him. "You mean I've learned when to shut up?" The barest hint of a smile touched Grayfia's lips. "Precisely." 6 months of working closely together had softened her formal demeanor around him. Not enough that anyone else would notice, but Naruto had learned to read the microscopic shifts in her expression that signaled amusement, approval, or concern. "Venelana sends word that she'll meet us in the reception hall," Grayfia continued. "The Gremory clan's historical relationships with certain angels may prove useful." Naruto nodded, falling into step beside her as they navigated the castle corridors. "Any word from the scouting parties near the fallen angel territories?" "Nothing concerning," Grayfia reported. "Though Azazel has requested a separate meeting. He claims to have information about Kokabil's movements that might interest you." "Bet he does," Naruto muttered. "That guy's playing all sides." They entered the grand reception hall where Venelana Gremory waited, resplendent in a deep crimson gown that complemented her brown hair and violet eyes. Despite looking no older than 30, something in those eyes reminded Naruto that she had centuries of experience navigating supernatural politics. "Devil King," she greeted him formally, with the hint of a teasing smile. In private, she'd never fully adopted his title, preferring to call him simply Naruto. Lady Gremory, he returned with an exaggerated bow that made her chuckle. Ready to convince some angels we're not planning their demise. Always, she replied smoothly. Though Gabriel has always been the most reasonable of heaven's leaders. Her presence suggests Michael genuinely seeks cooperation. The massive doors swung open, and the angel delegation entered. Gabriel led them, her 12 white wings partially extended, radiating light that somehow didn't hurt to look at. Blonde hair cascaded past her shoulders, and her face held a serenity that seemed almost unnatural to Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, Devil King Supreme, she greeted him, her voice like music. Heaven extends cautious greetings. Welcome to the underworld, Naruto replied, resisting the urge to scratch the back of his neck nervously. Thanks for coming. I know this isn't exactly your favorite vacation spot. A flicker of surprise crossed Gabriel's face before she smiled. Your reputation for directness appears well earned. That's diplomat speak for, you talk weird for a king, Naruto grinned. Yeah, I get that a lot. Several angels behind Gabriel exchanged glances, clearly unprepared for his casual approach. Venelana smoothly interjected, guiding the conversation toward the formal pleasantries required before substantive discussions. As they moved to the council chambers, Naruto created a shadow clone that fell into step beside Grayfia. Tell me more about Gabriel, the clone whispered. I'm getting weird vibes. She is the most beautiful woman in heaven, called the Lady of Light, Grayfia explained quietly. Legends claim her smile can purify evil and her tears can heal the dying. Unlike some angels, she has shown compassion toward devils in the past. Good to know, the clone nodded before dispelling, sending the information to the original Naruto. In the council chamber, maps of all 3 major territories, heaven, underworld, and the human realm, covered the central table. Naruto got straight to business. So here's where we stand, he began, pointing to several marked locations. In the 6 months since the Devil Civil War ended, we've had 14 unauthorized incursions into Devil territory by fallen angels, 3 skirmishes with rogue angel factions near the dimensional borders, and at least 2 attempts by human exorcists to reach the underworld directly. Gabriel studied the map. We were aware of the angel incursions, rogue elements acting against Michael's orders. The exorcists, however, are news to us. They claim to be following divine guidance, Venelana added. A concerning development, as traditional exorcists know better than to attempt direct entry to the underworld. Or they used to, Naruto noted. Something's changing. Indeed, Gabriel agreed. The human world grows more aware of the supernatural with each passing year. Technology makes it harder to hide our existence. Which is why we need this summit, Naruto concluded. All 3 factions face the same problem, how to handle increased human awareness without starting another great war. Gabriel's serene expression turned thoughtful. Your predecessor would not have framed the issue in terms of mutual interest. Yeah, well, I'm not big on the whole, devils versus everybody, mindset, Naruto shrugged. Seems counterproductive when we're all trying not to get wiped out. A refreshing perspective, Gabriel smiled genuinely. Though not universally shared among your subjects, I imagine. Change takes time, Venelana interjected diplomatically. But recent events have demonstrated the benefits of cooperation. The meeting continued productively, with both sides sharing intelligence about unusual activities in the human world. When they took a brief recess, Naruto found Gabriel approaching him privately. May I speak freely, Devil King, she requested. Just Naruto is fine, he replied. And yeah, always. Your energy signature puzzles us, she admitted. It contains demonic elements but also something pure. Something that resonates with angelic power in ways we've never encountered. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I'm not from around here. Long story short, different dimension, chakra instead of magic, and I've got the world's most powerful fox spirit sharing my body. Gabriel blinked, clearly not expecting such blunt disclosure. I see. That would explain much. Is it a problem? Naruto asked directly. On the contrary, Gabriel replied. It may explain why heaven has been so willing to negotiate with you despite your title. Your energy doesn't register as inherently corrupt, unlike most demonic power. Naruto considered this. So I've got built-in diplomatic advantages. Sweet. Gabriel's musical laugh echoed through the chamber. Indeed. Though I suspect your greatest advantage is simply being yourself. You lack the deception typical of devil politics. That's because I suck at lying, Naruto grinned. So I don't bother. As the angel delegation departed that evening, with promises of ongoing communication and a framework for handling future incidents, Naruto felt a genuine sense of accomplishment. That went better than expected, he told Venelana and Grayfia as they reviewed the day's outcomes. Angels respond well to sincerity, Venelana observed. Something you possess in abundance. Gabriel seemed to like you, Grayfia added with a slightly arched eyebrow. What? No way, Naruto waved dismissively. She was just being diplomatic. Venelana and Grayfia exchanged a glance that Naruto couldn't quite interpret. What? He asked suspiciously. Nothing, Venelana smiled. Just observing that your unconventional approach continues to yield unexpected benefits. Speaking of approaches, Grayfia smoothly changed subjects. How do you plan to handle the fallen angels? Azazel is notoriously unpredictable. Naruto's expression turned more serious. Differently. Angels want stability, but fallen angels thrive on chaos. We need to give Azazel something he wants more than trouble. And what might that be? Venelana asked curiously. Naruto grinned. Knowledge. Everything I've heard about the guy says he's obsessed with sacred gears and unusual powers. Well, I'm basically a walking, talking unusual power that he's never studied before. You would offer yourself as a research subject? Grayfia looked concerned. Not exactly, Naruto clarified. But I'll dangle the possibility of sharing information about chakra. Enough to intrigue him without giving away anything dangerous. Clever, Venelana acknowledged. Though not without risk. Everything worth doing has risks, Naruto replied, stretching. Now, if we're done for today, I promise to visit the academy. The kids are showing me their new magic techniques. After he departed, Venelana turned to Grayfia. 6 months as Devil King, and his first priority remains the children. It's why the people increasingly support him, Grayfia noted. Even those who initially resisted a foreign ruler. And us? Venelana asked quietly. What's our excuse? Grayfia met her gaze directly. We have none. And perhaps need none. A moment of understanding passed between them, acknowledgement of feelings neither was quite ready to name. The Devil Academy had flourished under Naruto's patronage. Once a battleground, it now boasted expanded grounds, strengthened barriers, and students from all noble houses studying together regardless of former faction allegiances. Naruto-sama, children called excitedly as he arrived without formal announcement or guards. Despite Grayfia's protests about security protocols, he refused to visit the academy with an entourage. Hey guys, he grinned, high-fiving several students who rushed to greet him. Show me what you've been working on. For the next hour, young devils eagerly demonstrated their magical prowess, everything from basic fire manipulation to complex illusions. Naruto praised each effort enthusiastically, offering tips based on his own chakra experience when relevant. A silver-haired girl named Mila, who had attached herself to Naruto during his first visit months ago, tugged at his sleeve. Did you bring him? She whispered conspiratorially. Of course, Naruto winked. With a pulse of chakra, a small manifestation of Kurama appeared, about the size of a large dog. The tiny devils again, Kurama grumbled, though without real annoyance. Over the months, he developed a grudging affection for the devil children, who showed none of the fear adults did. Kurama-sama, several children cheered, gathering around the fox manifestation. Have you been practicing those exercises? Kurama demanded gruffly. Yes, the children chorused, proceeding to demonstrate the meditation techniques Kurama had taught them for better magical control. The fox nodded approvingly, offering gruff corrections where needed. The academy headmaster approached Naruto as he watched the impromptu lesson. Your regular visits mean everything to them, she said quietly. Especially those who lost parents in the Civil War. They're amazing kids, Naruto replied. How's integration going with the traditional families? Better than expected, she admitted. Though there are still incidents. Some prejudices run deep. Naruto nodded thoughtfully. Change takes time. We can't force it, just create the conditions where it can happen naturally. The headmaster looked surprised. That's remarkably patient, coming from you. I learned the hard way that you can't punch ideology, Naruto laughed. Believe me, I tried. As the day wound down, Naruto found himself sitting under a tree in the academy courtyard, surrounded by students eager for stories of his world. Tell us about the Chunin exams again, requested a boy with flaming red hair. No, the war with pain, countered another. How about something new? Naruto suggested. Like the time I had to chase an ostrich across 3 countries. The children eagerly agreed, and Naruto launched into the ridiculous tale, complete with shadow clone demonstrations of key moments. Their laughter filled the courtyard, drawing the attention of passing adult devils who still marveled at the sight of their king sitting cross-legged on grass, surrounded by children. As twilight fell, Naruto noticed Venelana watching from a distance, a soft expression on her face. He created a shadow clone to continue the story while he joined her. Spying on me, he teased. Observing, she corrected with a smile. You're different with them. More, yourself. All the formal stuff still feels like playing dress-up, Naruto admitted. This is more natural. Yet you've adapted remarkably well to leadership, Venelana noted. 6 months ago, many doubted a foreigner could unite the devil factions. Now, even traditional houses acknowledge your effectiveness. Naruto shrugged modestly. I'm just doing what needs doing. That's precisely it, Venelana said softly. Where others sought power for its own sake, you wield it as a tool for necessary change. It's refreshing. Something in her tone made Naruto look at her more closely. In the fading light, Venelana's beauty took on an almost ethereal quality, not the perfect, untouchable beauty of Gabriel, but something warmer, more real. We should return to the castle, she suggested, seemingly unaware of his scrutiny. The meeting with Azazel tomorrow will require preparation, and you've had a full day. As they walked back together, their conversation flowed easily between political strategy and personal observations. 6 months of working closely had forged a comfortable rapport between them, though Naruto occasionally caught moments when Venelana seemed to withdraw slightly, as if catching herself becoming too familiar. Back at the castle, they found Grayfia reviewing security reports with a frown. Trouble? Naruto asked immediately. Possibly, she replied, looking up. There's unusual movement near the borders with fallen angel territory. Nothing overt, but patterns that concern our intelligence units. Related to Azazel's visit? Venelana questioned. Uncertain, Grayfia answered. But the timing seems convenient. Naruto nodded. Double the border patrols but keep them out of sight. I don't want to appear paranoid before Azazel arrives, but I don't like coincidences. Already done, Grayfia confirmed with the hint of a smile. Months of working together had attuned them to each other's thinking. What of the other matter? Venelana asked cryptically. Grayfia's expression turned more guarded. Progress, but slower than hoped. Ajuka believes the theory is sound, but practical application remains challenging. Naruto recognized they were discussing his potential way home, the research into dimensional travel that had continued alongside his duties as Devil King. While part of him appreciated their discretion, another part felt a twinge of frustration at the careful way they tiptoed around the subject. "You can talk about it directly," he said. "I'm not going to fall apart hearing that getting home is difficult." The two women exchanged glances before Grayfia continued. "Ajuka has identified what he believes is residual energy from your arrival, a dimensional signature that might allow for targeted transportation. However, the power requirements are substantial." "How substantial?" Naruto pressed. "Potentially equal to the combined power of all four Mao," Venelana explained gently. "And with perfect synchronization." Ah! Naruto absorbed this. "So, really difficult, but not impossible." "Your optimism remains intact, I see," Grayfia observed with a subtle softening of her expression. "Always," Naruto grinned. "Besides, we've got more immediate problems to solve first. One world-altering challenge at a time." Later that night, alone in his chambers, Naruto stood on his private balcony staring at the alien constellations of the underworld sky. 6 months had passed in this strange reality, while he had no idea if time flowed differently in the elemental nations. Were his friends still looking for him? Had minutes passed there, or years? "You're brooding again," Kurama observed. "Just thinking," Naruto corrected. "About home. You've made quite a life here in a short time," the fox noted. "Devil King, reformer, children's hero." "Yeah, but it's still not home," Naruto replied, though with less conviction than he might have had months earlier. "Konoha, everyone there, they're still my people. As are those academy children who look at you with such admiration," Kurama pointed out. "Or the devils whose lives improved under your leadership. Or certain female devils who watch you when they think you're not looking." Naruto nearly choked. "What? Who watches me?" Kurama's rumbling laughter filled his mind. "For someone so perceptive in battle, you can be remarkably blind to other things." "That's not an answer," Naruto grumbled. "No, it's an observation," the fox replied smugly. "One you might consider more carefully." Before Naruto could press further, a small magic circle appeared beside him, glowing with the Gremory family crest. Venelana's voice emerged from it. "Naruto, I apologize for the late hour, but could you meet me in the Eastern Library? There's something I'd like to discuss before tomorrow's meeting." "On my way," he replied, curiosity piqued. The Eastern Library was the smallest of the castle's 3 libraries, specializing in ancient history and folklore rather than magic or politics. When Naruto arrived, he found Venelana alone, surrounded by open books and scrolls, her hair loosely tied back and reading glasses perched on her nose, a surprisingly casual look for the normally impeccable noblewoman. She glanced up, seemingly embarrassed to be caught in such a state. "Thank you for coming. I hope I didn't interrupt anything important." "Just stargazing and arguing with Kurama," Naruto replied easily. "What's all this?" "Research," she explained, removing her glasses. "On interdimensional travel, actually. But from historical accounts rather than magical theory." Naruto's interest sharpened. "You found something?" "Perhaps." She indicated a particularly ancient text. "This chronicles encounters with beings called world walkers, entities that supposedly traveled between realities centuries ago. Most scholars dismiss it as mythology, but those same scholars probably would have dismissed talking foxes too," Naruto finished with a grin. "Precisely." Venelana smiled warmly. "The accounts describe these world walkers using natural convergence points, places where the barriers between realities are naturally thinner. Like dimensional weak spots?" Naruto asked, leaning closer to examine the text. "Something like that," she nodded. "The underworld supposedly contains several such points, including one near the ancient temple where our peace conference was held." Naruto looked up, excitement building. "So instead of forcing our way through dimensions with massive power, we might find a door that's already partially open," Venelana concluded. It would still require significant energy, but perhaps not Mao-level power. Have you told Grayfia or Ajuka about this? Venelana hesitated. Not yet. I wanted to verify the information first. These texts are considered more legend than fact. But you think there's truth to them, Naruto observed. I do, she admitted. Particularly given how your power resonates with certain locations in the underworld. The descriptions of world walkers mention similar phenomena, energy that seemed to recognize places it had never been. Naruto sat across from her, processing this information. This is huge, Venelana. Thank you for looking into this. Of course, she replied, then added more softly, though I confess to mixed feelings about accelerating your departure. The statement hung in the air between them, more revealing than perhaps she'd intended. Naruto studied her face, noting a vulnerability rarely displayed by the composed noblewoman. I'm not rushing to leave, he said carefully. There's still a lot to do here. The underworld has survived for eons, Venelana replied with a small smile. It would continue without you. Maybe, Naruto acknowledged. But what about the peace process? The academy reforms? All the changes we've started? Others could continue that work, she said, though without conviction. Naruto leaned forward. Do you want me to leave, Venelana? Her violet eyes met his, startlingly direct. No. And that's precisely why I continue searching for your way home. Because what I want shouldn't supersede your right to return to your world. The honesty of her answer struck Naruto deeply. Before he could respond, a commotion outside broke the moment, raised voices and the distinctive sound of guards mobilizing. They rushed to the corridor to find Grayfia approaching rapidly, her expression grave. Kokabil has attacked 3 devil outposts simultaneously, she reported without preamble. Dozens dead, including children. He's publicly declared his intention to restart the Great War, beginning with the upstart foreign devil king who overstepped his bounds. Naruto's expression hardened. Where is he now? Moving toward devil territory with a substantial force, Grayfia replied. Azazel has sent word disavowing Kokabil's actions and offering assistance, but his forces won't arrive in time. They won't need to, Naruto stated flatly, golden chakra already beginning to emanate from his body. I'll handle Kokabil personally. He'll be expecting that, Venelana cautioned. This feels like a trap. Probably, Naruto agreed. But if I don't respond to a direct challenge, it undermines everything we've built. Besides, his expression darkened, he targeted children. Again. Neither woman argued further, recognizing the steel in his voice. I'll mobilize our defensive units, Grayfia stated. At minimum, we must protect our territories if this is a diversion. And I'll contact our intelligence network, Venelana added. If Kokabil has allies within the underworld, we need to identify them quickly. Naruto nodded, creating several shadow clones. These will stay to help coordinate. I'll head directly to intercept Kokabil. As he prepared to depart, Venelana caught his arm. Be careful, she said softly. Kokabil is ancient and vicious. He won't fight honorably. Good thing I don't need him to, Naruto replied with grim determination. I just need him in range. The border between Devil Territory and the Fallen Angel's domain blazed with light as Kokabil's forces clashed with Devil defenders. From his elevated position, the cadre-class Fallen Angel watched with malicious satisfaction as his light spears decimated Devil ranks. The so-called Devil King will have no choice but to face me now, he gloated to his lieutenants. And when he falls, the old order will crumble. War will reign once more. You seem pretty excited about getting your ass kicked again, a voice called from above. Kokabil whirled to find Naruto hovering in mid-air, golden chakra swirling around him like living flame. You, the fallen angel snarled. I've prepared for you this time, interloper. Cool, Naruto replied flatly. I've prepared too. Let me show you. Before Kokabil could respond, Naruto vanished in a flash of speed, reappearing directly in front of the fallen angel with a Rasengan already formed. The spiraling sphere of chakra slammed into Kokabil's hastily erected light barrier, shattering it and sending the fallen angel crashing into a mountainside. Kokabil emerged from the rubble, 12 black wings extended to their full span. "You'll find me much improved since our last encounter," he snarled, summoning dual light spears that pulsed with unusual energy. "Notice that," Naruto acknowledged, eyes narrowing at the unfamiliar power signature. "New toys. Ancient relics, actually," Kokabil smirked, launching the spears with blinding speed. Naruto dodged the first but was surprised when the second curved in mid-flight to strike his shoulder. Pain seared through him, far more intense than a normal light weapon should cause. "That energy feels wrong," Kurama growled. "Corrupted somehow." "Yeah, got that memo," Naruto winced, examining the wound which wasn't healing as quickly as it should. "Time to stop playing around." He formed the cross-hand seal. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Hundreds of Narutos filled the sky, each radiating the same golden chakra. They descended on Kokabil's forces like an orange avalanche, engaging fallen angels across the battlefield while the original faced Kokabil directly. "Impressive display," the fallen angel sneered. "But quantity won't save you from quality." He gestured, and dark runes appeared around the battlefield. "I've studied your energy since our last encounter. These seals will disrupt your chakra flow, the more you use, the weaker you become." Naruto felt it immediately, a subtle drain on his chakra, growing stronger as he maintained his clones. With a mental command, he dispersed most of them, keeping only a dozen to assist the devil defenders. "Figured you'd cheat," Naruto commented, switching tactics. "Guys like you always do when they know they can't win fair." "War isn't about fairness," Kokabil laughed, launching another barrage of enhanced light spears. "It's about victory at any cost." Naruto weaved between the attacks, conserving chakra while analyzing the rune system. They reminded him of sealing techniques from his world, complex but ultimately based on predictable patterns. "You know what your problem is, Kokabil?" Naruto called, closing distance again. "You're so focused on the war you want that you don't see the battle you're in." With that, he slammed his palm into the ground, channeling chakra in a specific pattern. Seal disruption. The technique wasn't flashy, just a careful application of chakra designed to create dissonance in existing seal patterns. It was something Jiraiya had taught him years ago for dealing with enemy traps. The dark runes flickered, their drain weakening as their symmetry fractured. Kokabil's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. Those seals took months to perfect." "Should have spent another month then," Naruto replied, chakra flaring as the suppression lifted. "My turn now." What followed was less a battle than a demonstration. Freed from the chakra-draining seals, Naruto moved with blistering speed, his tailed beast mode activating fully. The spectral form of Kurama materialized around him, towering over the battlefield. Kokabil launched everything he had, light spears, dark magic, even allies pressed into desperate attacks. None penetrated Kurama's chakra form. "Enough playing," Kurama growled, his voice rumbling across the battlefield. "End this." With pleasure, Naruto agreed, forming a massive tailed beast bomb between Kurama's jaws. Kokabil's expression shifted from rage to fear. "Wait. I have information you want. About your way home." The attack paused, the condensed chakra still swirling dangerously. "Talk fast," Naruto commanded. "There are artifacts, keys to the dimensional gaps," Kokabil said quickly. "I've located one. Spare me, and I'll reveal its location." "He lies," Kurama snarled. "Yeah, I figured," Naruto agreed. "But let's hear him out anyway." Keeping the tailed beast bomb ready, he allowed Kokabil to approach under the watchful eyes of his remaining shadow clones. "The artifact is hidden in neutral territory," the fallen angel explained, desperation evident. A temple between worlds, accessible only during celestial alignments. The next alignment occurs in 3 days. And you just happen to discover this conveniently timed dimensional key? Naruto asked skeptically. I've searched for centuries. Kokabil insisted. My interest in dimensional manipulation predates your arrival. How do you think I recognized your foreign energy so quickly? Naruto studied him carefully. There was truth mixed with the deception, a dangerous combination. Here's what's going to happen, he finally declared. You're coming with us as a prisoner. Your forces will stand down immediately. If your information proves accurate, you'll be treated fairly. If not. He let the threat hang unspoken. Kokabil's eyes darted between Naruto and the still active tailed beast bomb. Finally, he lowered his weapons. Agreed. As devil forces secured the fallen angel and his lieutenants, Naruto maintained his vigilance, sensing something still wasn't right. The victory had come too easily for an enemy as ancient and cunning as Kokabil. Keep him under constant guard, he instructed the devil commanders. No fewer than 6 high-level devils watching at all times, rotating shifts. You suspect a trap within the trap, one commander observed. Always, Naruto confirmed grimly. When he returned to the castle, he found Venelana and Grayfia waiting anxiously. Their relief at seeing him was palpable, though Grayfia maintained her composed exterior better than Venelana, who stepped forward immediately to examine his wounded shoulder. This isn't healing properly, she observed with concern. Kokabil had weapons with weird energy, Naruto explained. Anti-chakra or something. Kurama's working on it. You should let our healers examine it, Grayfia suggested. Fallen angel weapons often carry curses that persist after the initial damage. As Naruto relayed the details of the encounter and Kokabil's claims about dimensional artifacts, the two women exchanged concerned glances. His story aligns somewhat with what I found in those ancient texts, Venelana noted cautiously. They mention celestial alignments affecting the strength of dimensional boundaries. Which makes his deception all the more dangerous for being partially true, Grayfia countered. The timing is too convenient. Yeah, Naruto agreed. But we'd be stupid not to investigate. If there's even a small chance it's real. We'll research this temple he mentioned, Venelana promised. Compare it with the convergence points in my texts. If they align. Then we proceed carefully, Grayfia finished firmly. With every possible precaution. Later, after underworld healers had examined his wound and confirmed it would heal fully with time, Naruto found himself again on his balcony, restlessness keeping him from sleep. The prospect of a potential way home, even one revealed by an enemy, had stirred mixed emotions he hadn't expected. The soft sound of footsteps alerted him to a visitor. Grayfia approached, carrying a tray with tea. I thought you might be awake, she explained, setting the tray on a small table. This blend helps with magical injuries. Thanks, Naruto smiled, genuinely touched by the thoughtful gesture. Couldn't sleep either. I was reviewing security protocols for Kokabil's containment, she replied, pouring the tea with practiced grace. But also, concerned. Naruto accepted the cup. About Kokabil's information? About you, Grayfia corrected, meeting his gaze directly. This potential pathway home, it clearly affects you deeply. Naruto sighed, leaning against the balcony rail. Yeah. 6 months ago, I would have jumped at any chance to get back, no questions asked. Now it's more complicated, Grayfia finished when he trailed off. Exactly, he nodded. I've built something here. Made connections, started changes that matter. Going home means leaving all that unfinished. Grayfia studied him thoughtfully, moonlight silvering her already pale hair. When I first met you, I thought you merely an anomaly, powerful but temporary. I expected you would either return to your world or be absorbed into ours, becoming just another powerful entity in our complex hierarchy. Instead I became king and messed up the whole system, Naruto grinned. Instead, Grayfia corrected gently, you remain distinctly yourself while creating a place that uniquely requires what you offer. Neither fully assimilated nor truly separate. The insight struck Naruto with its accuracy. That's exactly how it feels. Your potential departure concerns many beyond just Venelana and myself, Grayfia continued. The stability you've created is still fragile. Ancient enmities remain, temporarily set aside rather than truly resolved. You think it would all fall apart if I left? Naruto asked, troubled by the possibility. I think, Grayfia replied carefully, that transformation requires sustained vision. The changes you've begun need time to root deeply enough to survive without your presence. They sat in companionable silence for a while, sipping tea and watching the strange constellations of the underworld sky. Naruto found himself studying Grayfia's profile, the perfect posture that somehow seemed less rigid than when they'd first met, the subtle expressions that most missed but he'd learned to read. Can I ask you something personal? He ventured. She raised a slender eyebrow. You may ask. You were devoted to Surzex, Naruto said quietly. I've heard enough to know he was more than just your king. Grayfia's expression remained composed, but something flickered in her eyes. He was my husband, she confirmed. Though few outside the highest circles knew this. I'm sorry, Naruto said sincerely. For bringing up painful memories, and for your loss. Thank you, she replied softly. Though I must ask what prompted the question. Naruto hesitated, then decided on honesty. I guess I've been trying to understand you better. You're the hardest person to read in this entire world, you know that. The faintest hint of a smile touched her lips. A necessary skill in devil politics. Yeah, but we're not doing politics right now, Naruto pointed out. Just talking. Person to person. Grayfia set down her teacup, considering him with new intensity. You wish to know me beyond my role as your advisor. I wish to know you as Grayfia, Naruto confirmed. Not just the perfect, composed advisor who never shows what she's actually feeling. For a moment, he thought he'd overstepped. Then, surprisingly, Grayfia's perfect posture relaxed slightly, and she looked out toward the horizon. I was born to a family pledged to the original Lucifer, she began quietly. Raised to uphold devil supremacy without question. Meeting Surzex changed everything. He showed me a different vision for our kind, one built on merit rather than bloodlines. Naruto listened, fascinated by this glimpse into her carefully guarded past. Choosing him meant betraying my family's legacy, she continued. A decision I never regretted, but one that shaped how I approach loyalty and duty. When he fell in the final battles of the Civil War, I continued serving his vision rather than returning to my family's ideology. That took incredible strength, Naruto observed softly. Or stubborn pride, Grayfia countered with uncharacteristic self-deprecation. Either way, when you arrived and somehow united factions that had hated each other for centuries, it felt like vindication of everything Surzex had worked toward. Is that why you supported me from the beginning? Naruto asked. Because I was continuing his work. Initially, she admitted. But you quickly proved to be more than a continuation. Your methods, your perspective as an outsider, they allowed possibilities neither Surzex nor anyone else had considered. She turned to face him fully. You asked why I'm difficult to read. It's because for centuries, survival in devil politics required hiding one's true thoughts. But also because. She hesitated, then continued more softly, because I found myself experiencing emotions I had thought long buried after Surzek's death. The admission hung in the air between them, more revealing than any passionate declaration might have been coming from someone else. For Grayfia, this level of vulnerability was unprecedented. I don't know what to say, Naruto admitted honestly. Nothing needs saying, Grayfia replied, composure returning. I merely answered your question. Yeah, but you answered a lot more than I asked, Naruto pointed out with a gentle smile. Thank you for trusting me with that. She inclined her head slightly, then rose. The hour grows late. You should rest, especially with that injury. Grayfia, Naruto caught her hand before she could leave, surprising them both with the gesture. Whatever happens with this temple thing, with going home or staying, I want you to know that getting to know you has been one of the best parts of being here. For a brief moment, her carefully maintained facade softened completely, revealing a woman of stunning beauty and deep feeling. Then, with gentle firmness, she reclaimed her hand. Rest well, Naruto, she said, her voice warmer than he'd ever heard it. Tomorrow brings new challenges. After she departed, Naruto stared at the door for a long while, processing what had just happened. Well, that was enlightening, Kurama commented dryly. Shut up, Naruto muttered, but without heat. First Venelana practically confesses she doesn't want you to leave, now Grayfia admits to feelings she thought long buried, the fox continued, clearly enjoying his host's discomfort. For someone who claims to be bad at politics, you're remarkably effective at winning powerful allies. It's not like that, Naruto protested. They're friends, important friends. Keep telling yourself that, Kurama snorted. Meanwhile, you might consider what you actually want, assuming this temple does offer a way home. The question haunted Naruto well into the night. What did he want? 6 months ago, the answer would have been simple, return to Konoha as quickly as possible. Now, the thought of leaving the underworld created a hollow ache he hadn't anticipated. The next morning brought Azazel, leader of the fallen angels, arriving not with the formal delegation expected but alone and unannounced at the castle gates. Figured we could skip the ceremony given recent events, he explained casually to the startled guards. Your boss around? Naruto met him in a small reception room rather than the formal audience chamber, sensing the fallen angel leader preferred direct conversation. Azazel was surprisingly laid back for an ancient being of immense power, black hair with golden bangs, an easy smile, and the relaxed posture of someone perpetually amused by the world around him. So you're the dimensional traveler everyone's talking about, Azazel observed, studying Naruto with open curiosity. Gotta say, I expected someone more imposing. Sorry to disappoint, Naruto grinned. I left my scary demon form at home today. Azazel laughed. I like you already. Much more interesting than the typical devil stuffiness. He sobered slightly. About Kokabil, I want to be clear that he acted against direct orders. He's been unstable since the Great War ended, obsessed with restarting it. Yeah, I got that impression when he attacked children, Naruto replied dryly. Twice. He believes war is the natural state of our factions, Azazel sighed. Can't accept that some of us prefer research and innovation to endless bloodshed. Speaking of research, Naruto transitioned smoothly, Kokabil mentioned a temple related to dimensional travel. Know anything about that? Azazel's eyes sharpened with interest. He told you about the Nexus Temple. Now that's unexpected. So it's real? Naruto pressed. Oh, it's real all right, Azazel confirmed. Ancient place, predating even our earliest records. Supposedly exists simultaneously in multiple dimensions, or rather, at the intersection of them. And the celestial alignment thing? Also legitimate, Azazel nodded. Happens roughly every 70 years. 3 days from now is indeed the next occurrence. Naruto studied him carefully. You're being surprisingly helpful. Azazel shrugged. I'm a researcher at heart. Dimensional travel fascinates me. Besides, he added with a knowing smile, you were going to offer information about your chakra in exchange for my cooperation, weren't you? Was I that obvious? Naruto laughed. Transparent, Azazel confirmed cheerfully. But it's a fair trade. I share what I know about the Nexus Temple, you satisfy my curiosity about your energy system. Deal, Naruto agreed. But first, what's the catch with this temple? There's always a catch. Azazel's expression turned more serious. Smart question. The Nexus Temple responds differently to different visitors. It tests them, in a sense. Shows them paths based on their desires and fears. Sounds like a genjutsu, Naruto mused. A what now? Illusion technique, Naruto explained. In my world, they trap you in false realities based on your mind. Fascinating, Azazel leaned forward eagerly. And how do you counter these genjutsu? Disrupt your chakra flow, or have a partner break you out of it, Naruto replied. But if this temple predates angels and devils, I'm guessing our usual countermeasures won't work the same way. Correct, Azazel confirmed. The temple operates on principles older than our understanding of magic. Kokabil has been obsessed with it for centuries, believing it holds weapons of immense power. But his attempts to enter have always failed during previous alignments. Because of the temple's test. Precisely, Azazel nodded. It rejects those seeking weapons or conquest. At least, that's what the ancient texts suggest. Their conversation continued, with Azazel sharing everything he knew about the Nexus Temple while Naruto explained the basics of chakra. By the time Venelana and Grayfia joined them, the two had established a surprisingly comfortable rapport. The governor of the fallen angels and the Devil King trading secrets like schoolboys, Venelana observed with amusement. Truly the world changes. Lady Gremory, Azazel greeted her with exaggerated formality. Still intimidatingly beautiful, I see. Still inappropriately flirtatious, Governor, she returned smoothly. Some things apparently remain constant. Naruto caught a brief flicker of something, annoyance, cross Grayfia's features at the exchange before her expression returned to its usual composure. Together, they reviewed all available information about the Nexus Temple, comparing Azazel's knowledge with what Venelana had found in the ancient texts. The locations match, Venelana confirmed, indicating points on a map. And the convergence point I identified from the World Walker accounts corresponds perfectly with the temple's coordinates. So it's legitimate, Naruto concluded. A potential way home that actually exists. Potentially, Grayfia emphasized. But Kokabil's involvement concerns me. His sudden willingness to share this information after centuries of secrecy suggests ulterior motives. Oh, he definitely has an angle, Azazel agreed. Kokabil never does anything without multiple layers of planning. The question is what he gains by sending the Devil King to the Nexus Temple during an alignment. Access to the temple himself? Naruto suggested. Maybe he needs me to open it somehow. Or he believes you'll be trapped there, leaving the underworld vulnerable, Venelana theorized. Or both, Grayfia added grimly. We cannot dismiss any possibility. Despite the risks, they agreed the opportunity couldn't be ignored. Plans were made to secure Kokabil while Naruto, accompanied by a small team, would investigate the temple during the alignment. I should be part of this expedition, Azazel insisted. My research on the temple spans centuries. And your curiosity is transparent, Grayfia noted dryly. Never denied it, Azazel grinned. But my knowledge might prove crucial if something goes wrong. After discussion, they agreed that a balanced team would be best, Naruto, Venelana representing devil interests, Azazel for the fallen angels, and Grayfia to ensure security protocols. A leader from each faction, Venelana observed. Plus Naruto as the neutral party. Symbolically appropriate for entering an ancient neutral site. Preparations began immediately, with research teams gathering every scrap of information about the temple and security forces establishing perimeters around the site. As the others focused on logistics, Naruto found a moment alone with Venelana. You've been quiet since we confirmed the temple exists, he observed. She smiled faintly. Have I? I apologize. There's much to organize. That's not it, Naruto pressed gently. What's bothering you? Venelana hesitated, then met his gaze directly. I find myself conflicted. As your friend and advisor, I should be pleased at the prospect of you finding your way home. Yet personally. She trailed off. You don't want me to leave, Naruto finished softly. It's selfish, she acknowledged. The underworld has changed more in 6 months under your influence than in centuries before. And I. Again, she hesitated. And you? Naruto encouraged. I've grown accustomed to your presence, she said carefully. Your perspective, your energy. The underworld would be diminished without you. The admission, modest as it was, clearly cost her something. Venelana Gremory, matriarch of one of the most powerful devil families, was not accustomed to revealing vulnerability. I haven't decided yet, Naruto told her honestly. About going back, if it's even possible. There's too much unfinished here. Your world has claims on you that preceded us, Venelana reminded him gently. Friends, family, responsibilities. Your sense of duty would not allow you to abandon them if return is possible. Yeah, Naruto sighed. That's the complicated part. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message, unusual energy readings near Kokabil's containment facility. They rushed to join Grayfia and Azazel, who were already reviewing the reports. The seals are holding, Grayfia assured them. But there's definitely something attempting to breach them from outside. Kokabil's supporters? Venelana questioned. Doesn't match fallen angel signatures, Azazel frowned, studying the readings. This is different. Almost like a massive explosion cut him off, shaking the entire castle. Alarms blared as reports flooded in of attacks at multiple locations throughout Devil territory. Coordinated strikes, Grayfia reported grimly, processing the incoming information. Not just fallen angels, there are devil traders involved, and something else. Energy signatures unlike anything in our records. Except one place, Naruto realized. The weapons Kokabil used against me had the same weird energy. This was his plan all along, distract us with the temple while his allies attack from within. We need to secure him immediately, Venelana urged. If this is his orchestration, another explosion, this one closer, rocked the castle. Reports confirmed the worst, Kokabil had escaped amid the chaos, his containment seals shattered by the same strange energy now attacking throughout Devil territory. He played us perfectly, Azazel acknowledged grimly. Used the temple as bait, knowing we'd focus our attention there while his real plan unfolded. Naruto's expression hardened. We need to split up. Grayfia, coordinate our defensive forces. Venelana, secure the academy and other vulnerable locations. Azazel, can you track Kokabil? Already on it, the fallen angel governor confirmed, a magic circle forming in his palm. He's heading east, toward the temple site, actually. Then that's where I'm going, Naruto declared. Whatever he's really after, I'm stopping him. Not alone, Venelana insisted. The children are already well protected. I'm coming with you. As am I, Grayfia added unexpectedly. I've already initiated our defense protocols. My second can oversee them. Naruto knew better than to argue with either woman. Fine, but we move fast. Azazel? Wouldn't miss it, the fallen angel grinned, despite the gravity of the situation. Besides, I've got a score to settle with my insubordinate cadre. They departed immediately, racing across the underworld toward the ancient temple site. As they traveled, reports continued of attacks throughout Devil territory, strategic rather than random, targeting key infrastructure and defensive positions. This isn't just an escape attempt, Grayfia observed grimly. It's a full-scale coup. Kokabil's been planning this for months, Azazel agreed. Probably since your first encounter with him, Naruto. His defeat gave him the perfect cover to operate while appearing contained. But what's his endgame? Venelana questioned. Even with surprise on his side, he can't hope to defeat all three factions. Unless he has something at the temple that changes the equation, Naruto suggested grimly. They arrived at the temple site to find it already under attack. Kokabil's forces clashed with the Devil Guard stationed there, while the fallen angel himself stood at the temple entrance, channeling the same strange energy they detected earlier. The temple itself was unlike anything Naruto had seen in either world, ancient stone that seemed to shift between states of solidity, glowing with patterns that resembled neither devil nor angel script. Its central doorway pulsed with energy that intensified as Kokabil worked. He's forcing the alignment early, Azazel realized with alarm. Using those artifacts to manipulate the dimensional boundaries. Can he do that? Naruto asked. Not without catastrophic consequences, Azazel replied grimly. Forcing dimensional gates open can shatter the barriers between worlds permanently. Then we stop him now, Naruto declared, his chakra flaring golden as they closed in. Kokabil sensed their approach and turned, his face twisted with maniacal glee. Too late, Devil King. The convergence has begun. Indeed, the temple doorway was expanding, reality visibly warping around its edges. Through the distortion, Naruto caught glimpses of multiple landscapes, none from his world, but clearly not the underworld either. You fool! Azazel shouted at his subordinate. You'll destroy all realms, including ours. A necessary sacrifice for true power, Kokabil retorted. The primordials will return, and I shall be their herald. Primordials? Venelana questioned sharply. The beings that existed before God, before the separation of realms, Azazel explained quickly. Entities of pure chaos, if he's trying to reach them. Bad news, got it, Naruto summarized, already moving to engage Kokabil directly while his companions dealt with the fallen angel supporters. The battle was furious but brief. Despite his enhanced weapons and manic determination, Kokabil proved no match for Naruto's full power combined with Kurama's chakra. Within minutes, the fallen angel lay defeated at the temple entrance, but the dimensional distortion continued growing. Why isn't it stopping? Naruto demanded, restraining the unconscious Kokabil. The process has become self-sustaining, Azazel explained, examining the pulsing doorway with a mixture of scientific curiosity and alarm. The artifacts he used have tapped into the temple's inherent power. Can we close it? Grayfia asked urgently. Not conventionally, Azazel shook his head. Once a dimensional breach reaches this stage, it typically expands until catastrophic failure of all connected realms. Typically. Venelana caught the qualifier. What's the exception? Azazel's expression turned grave. Sometimes, a being with sufficient energy can enter the convergence point and stabilize it from within. Essentially becoming a living seal. All eyes turned to Naruto. You're saying I could close it, he stated, understanding immediately. Theoretically, Azazel confirmed. Your chakra already exhibits unusual compatibility with dimensional energies. And with the Nine Tails power added. But at what cost? Venelana demanded, alarm clear in her voice. What happens to Naruto if he attempts this? Azazel hesitated. Best case. He stabilizes the convergence and can exit before the temple reseals. Worst case. I get trapped between dimensions, Naruto finished when the fallen angel trailed off. Or pulled into one of those random worlds we glimpsed. Or your energy merges with the convergence point permanently, Azazel added reluctantly. No, Grayfia stated flatly. We'll find another solution. There isn't time, Azazel countered, indicating the expanding distortion. Minutes, at most, before the breach becomes irreversible. Naruto stared at the pulsing doorway, understanding the choice before him. Enter the convergence, possibly sacrificing his chance to ever return home or remain here in the underworld, or watch as multiple realities, including this one that he'd come to care for deeply, suffered catastrophic damage. Not really a choice at all. I'm going in, he declared, his tone leaving no room for argument. Naruto, Venelana began, distress evident in her voice. It's what I do, he cut her off gently. Protect the people I care about, whatever it takes. At least take this, Azazel pressed a small device into his hand. It's a dimensional anchor I've been developing. Might help you find your way back, somewhere. Naruto nodded gratefully, then turned to Venelana and Grayfia. The women's expressions reflected the same conflict, duty warring with personal feelings. If I don't make it back, he told them, continue what we started. The peace process, the academy reforms, all of it. Don't let things slide back to how they were. We won't, Grayfia promised, her composure cracking just slightly. But you should know, I know, Naruto interrupted with a gentle smile. More than you think I do. Both of you, his gaze included Venelana. And that makes this easier, not harder. Knowing I have something to come back to. Before they could respond, he turned and walked toward the convergence point. As he reached the threshold, he activated his tailed beast mode, Kurama's golden energy surrounding him completely. Ready, partner? The fox asked internally. As I'll ever be, Naruto replied. Let's save these worlds. With a final glance back at the three figures watching him, Azazel's fascinated respect, Venelana's barely contained emotion, Grayfia's stoic face betrayed by glistening eyes, Naruto stepped into the dimensional breach. The sensation was unlike anything he'd experienced before, neither pain nor pleasure, but a complete dissolution of self. He felt stretched across infinite possibilities, his consciousness fragmenting and reforming with each pulse of the convergence. Through the chaos, he sensed the damage Kokabil had caused, tears in the fabric of reality leaking energy in dangerous patterns. Focusing his will, Naruto directed Kurama's chakra toward these breaches, knitting reality back together through sheer determination. The energy patterns are familiar, Kurama observed as they worked. Similar to what I sensed when we first arrived in the underworld. Maybe that's why I ended up there, Naruto theorized, struggling to maintain coherent thought amid the dimensional chaos. Some connection between your chakra and this place. As they sealed the final breach, Naruto felt the convergence beginning to stabilize. The wild energy patterns calmed, dimensional boundaries reasserting themselves. But something was wrong, he couldn't find the path back to the underworld. The anchor Azazel had given him pulsed with energy, but pointed in multiple directions simultaneously. Which way is back? Naruto asked desperately, feeling his consciousness beginning to fragment again as the convergence point collapsed. I don't know, Kurama admitted. But I sense a familiar energy, something like the elemental nations. Home. Naruto's heart leapt. You think we can get home? Possibly, Kurama confirmed. But we must choose quickly. The paths are collapsing. Naruto hesitated, torn between directions. One path might lead home to Konoha, to the friends and life he'd left behind. Another might return him to the underworld, to the new connections he'd formed and the work still unfinished. What do we do? He asked Kurama, for once truly uncertain. What we always do, the fox replied. Follow our instincts and deal with the consequences. With time running out, Naruto made his choice. Focusing on the anchor, he poured his remaining chakra into a specific direction and felt reality shift around him. The last thing he remembered was a blinding light, then darkness. He awoke to the sound of familiar voices arguing nearby. Absolutely reckless. He could have been killed. Yet once again, his gamble paid off. The convergence is stable. That doesn't justify, guys, he's waking up. Naruto opened his eyes to find himself in his bed at the Devil King's castle, surrounded by concerned faces. Venelana sat closest, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept. Grayfia stood nearby, her perfect posture restored but relief evident in her gaze. Azazel leaned against the wall, looking simultaneously exhausted and exhilarated. Welcome back to the land of the conscious, the fallen angel greeted him. Nice dimensional patch job, by the way. Absolutely fascinating energy work. How long was I out? Naruto asked, his voice hoarse. 3 days, Venelana answered, offering him water. Your physical form returned almost immediately, but your consciousness seemed elsewhere. It was, Naruto confirmed, accepting the water gratefully. I was everywhere and nowhere at once. Saw things I can't even describe. The anchor worked, then? Azazel asked eagerly. Sort of, Naruto nodded. It gave me options, paths to different worlds. Including. He hesitated, glancing at Venelana and Grayfia, including my home world. The room fell silent at this revelation. You could have returned to your original dimension, Grayfia stated carefully. Yet you chose to come back here. Yeah, Naruto confirmed simply. I did. May I ask why? Venelana inquired, her voice deliberately neutral despite the intensity of her gaze. Naruto looked between them, considering his answer. Lots of reasons. Unfinished business. Responsibilities. The fact that Kokabil's still out there somewhere, he escaped during the chaos after I entered the convergence. All valid considerations, Grayfia acknowledged. Strategic reasons for the Devil King's return. Those too, Naruto agreed with a small smile. But mostly. I realized something in there, seeing all those possible worlds, all those paths I could take. And what was that? Venelana asked softly. That home isn't just where you're from, Naruto replied, meeting her gaze directly. It's where you choose to be. Where you build something that matters to you. The simple statement carried more weight than any grand declaration might have. After a moment of weighted silence, Azazel cleared his throat. Well, on that touching note, I should report back to my faction, he announced. Fascinating as your dimensional adventures are, we still have a rogue cadre to recapture. After the fallen angel departed, Grayfia approached the bed. The underworld has stabilized in your absence. The coordinated attack ceased once word spread of Kokabil's defeat at the temple. It seems his allies lost enthusiasm without their leader's success. Good, Naruto nodded. What about the academy? Any casualties? None, Venelana assured him. Your defensive preparations proved adequate. The children were never in serious danger. Thank goodness, Naruto sighed in relief. And the temple? What happened after I went in? It resealed itself once the convergence stabilized, Grayfia explained. Azazel's researchers believe it will remain dormant until the next natural alignment, decades from now. So no more convenient doorways between worlds, Naruto summarized. Not through that method, Venelana confirmed. Though Ajuka remains convinced that a controlled dimensional portal might be possible with sufficient research. Not a priority right now, Naruto decided. We've got more immediate problems. Kokabil's still out there, and whatever those primordials are that he mentioned, they sound like bad news. Indeed, Grayfia agreed. Azazel has shared what knowledge he has, but much remains uncertain. The concept of beings predating God himself is troubling. One crisis at a time, Naruto yawned, still exhausted despite his 3-day unconsciousness. First, we secure the underworld and finish what we started with the peace process. Venelana rose. You should rest more. Your energy remains depleted. Before you go, Naruto caught her hand, then extended his other to Grayfia, who hesitated before taking it. Thank you. Both of you. For everything while I was gone, and for being here when I came back. Where else would we be? Venelana asked softly. The underworld needs its king, Grayfia added, though her tone conveyed more than mere duty. After they departed, Naruto sank back into his pillows, processing everything that had happened. Within the convergence, he'd glimpsed infinite possibilities, including brief visions of Konoha, his friends continuing their lives. Somehow, seeing that they were well, that life had continued in his absence, had made his decision easier. You could have gone home, Kurama noted, finally breaking his silence. I did, Naruto replied simply. The fox's rumbling chuckle filled his mind. You've grown, Kit. Not just in power. Had a good teacher, Naruto grinned. Several, actually. As sleep reclaimed him, Naruto's last thoughts were of the challenges ahead, recapturing Kokabil, completing the peace process, investigating these mysterious primordials. But alongside these concerns was a newfound certainty. He was exactly where he needed to be. 1 month later, Naruto stood on a hilltop overlooking the expanded Devil Academy. New construction gleamed in the underworld's strange light, accommodating students from all 3 factions, a revolutionary concept that had met resistance but ultimately prevailed. "They're calling it the Peace Academy now," Venelana informed him, approaching from behind. "Though unofficially, many call it Naruto's school." "That's embarrassing," he groaned, though secretly pleased. "It belongs to all the factions, not just me." "Yet it would not exist without your vision," she pointed out. "The first institution in history where devil, angel, and fallen angel children learn together." Below, students practiced in joint groups, their different energies complementing each other in ways previously thought impossible. Devil children with their destructive power, angel children with their light manipulation, fallen angel children combining elements of both, working together rather than against each other. "It's a good start," Naruto acknowledged. "But there's still so much to do." "Always," Venelana agreed. "Though perhaps we might take a moment to appreciate what's been accomplished." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the future of 3 factions playing and learning together. Eventually, Venelana spoke again. "Grayfia mentioned you've been researching the primordials extensively." "Yeah," Naruto nodded. "Something about them feels important, connected to why I ended up here in the first place." Kurama sensed familiarity in the convergence energy, like it recognized him somehow. "And have you discovered anything significant?" "Maybe," Naruto replied thoughtfully. "There are references to 9 primordial entities that existed before the separation of realms, beings of pure energy that represented different fundamental forces." 9, Venelana repeated meaningfully. "Like the 9-tailed beasts of your world." "Exactly," Naruto confirmed. "It might be coincidence, but in my experience, such parallels rarely are," Venelana observed. "What does Kurama think?" "Tell her I find the theory intriguing," the fox rumbled within him. "Though memory from before the sage created us is fragmentary at best." Naruto relayed this, adding, "If there is a connection, it might explain why the underworld responded so strongly to his chakra from the beginning." "A mystery worth pursuing," Venelana agreed. "Though perhaps not today." She gestured toward the academy, where Grayfia had arrived to observe a demonstration by the students. Despite her formal demeanor, genuine pleasure showed in her face as the children eagerly showed off their progress. "I never thought I'd see her smile like that again," Venelana commented. "Not after Surzex." "She's healing," Naruto observed. "We all are, in different ways." "Indeed," Venelana agreed softly. After a moment's hesitation, she added, "I've been meaning to ask, now that you've had time to reflect on your choice to return here rather than continue to your home world." "Still no regrets," Naruto assured her, understanding her unspoken question. "I miss my friends, always will. But I saw enough in the convergence to know they're doing okay without me. And here I'm needed in a different way." "The underworld has certainly benefited from your presence," Venelana acknowledged. "As have many of us individually." Something in her tone made Naruto turn to face her fully. Over the past month, since his return from the temple, their relationship had evolved, subtle changes in how they interacted, moments of connection that lingered longer than strictly necessary for professional discussions. "Venelana," he began, uncertain how to continue. She saved him from his awkwardness by taking his hand. "I've lived for centuries, Naruto. In that time, I've learned to recognize valuable things when they appear, and to not waste time circling what matters." The directness surprised him, though perhaps it shouldn't have. Beneath her diplomatic exterior, Venelana Gremory had always been decisive. "I'm still figuring things out," he admitted honestly. "All of this, being Devil King, the peace process, these feelings that weren't part of the plan when I landed here." "I'm not asking for declarations," Venelana assured him. "Merely acknowledging what exists between us, and what might grow if we allow it. Before Naruto could respond, a small magic circle appeared beside them, an urgent communication from the border patrols. Reports of unusual energy signatures, similar to what they'd encountered at the temple but scattered across multiple locations. Kokabil? Naruto questioned sharply. Unknown, the patrol leader reported. But definitely related to the convergence energy. We're establishing containment perimeters now. We'll be right there, Naruto assured them, the circle disappearing as the communication ended. He turned to Venelana with an apologetic expression. Timing, huh? The curse of leadership, she agreed with a small smile. But this conversation isn't finished. Definitely not, Naruto confirmed, his hand briefly squeezing hers before they separated to prepare for the new crisis. As they descended the hill toward the academy, where Grayfia was already organizing a response team, Naruto felt a strange combination of concern and contentment. Whatever these new energy signatures represented, whether Kokabil's return, primordial activity, or some new threat entirely, they would face it together. 6 months ago, he'd arrived in this world alone and lost. Now, he moved through it with purpose, with connection, with bonds that strengthened with each challenge overcome. The path ahead remained uncertain, filled with dangers both known and unknown, but Naruto welcomed it with the confidence of someone who had finally found where he belonged. Not the life he'd planned, but increasingly, the life he would choose if given 1,000 chances. Chapter 3, The Will of Fire in Darkness. The midnight sky above the underworld shattered like glass. Naruto bolted upright in bed, instantly alert as waves of unfamiliar power washed over the castle. Not the chaotic energy of the convergence this time, something older, colder, more deliberate. She's here, Kurama growled, bristling within Naruto's mindscape. Who? Naruto asked, already moving, summoning his chakra cloak as alarms blared throughout the castle. The infinite dragon god. Ophis. I can sense her, like an absence where something should be. Guards rushed through the corridors as Naruto emerged from his chambers. He created shadow clones instantly, sending them to secure key locations while the original raced toward the source of the disturbance. Grayfia intercepted him at the grand staircase, her silver hair unbound as if she'd been awakened suddenly, though her eyes were sharp and focused. Northern Quadrant, she reported crisply. Multiple breaches in our defensive barriers. Energy signature unlike anything in our records. I know what it is, Naruto replied grimly. Ophis. Grayfia's eyes widened fractionally, the equivalent of open shock from anyone else. The infinite dragon god. Here. Why now? Not sure, Naruto admitted as they hurried toward the castle's tactical center. But Kurama senses something familiar about her energy. The tactical center buzzed with activity as devil commanders coordinated defense forces. Massive viewing screens showed multiple breach points across devil territory, not just random attacks but a systematic dismantling of the underworld's protective barriers. Status report, Naruto demanded as he entered. 16 confirmed breach points, a commander responded immediately. Primary attacker appears to be a small girl with gothic clothing, accompanied by serpentine creatures of immense power. Ophis often takes the form of a young girl, Grayfia explained quietly to Naruto. Don't be deceived, she's one of the most powerful beings in existence. What's she after? Naruto wondered aloud, studying the attack pattern. These aren't random strikes. Venelana burst into the room, elegant despite the crisis. The academy is secure, she reported. Triple barriers in place, evacuation tunnels prepared if needed. Good, Naruto nodded. Any word from Azazel or Heaven's forces? Both report similar breaches in their territories, Grayfia confirmed. This appears to be a coordinated attack across all three factions. Naruto frowned, analyzing the situation. Multiple simultaneous attacks requiring enormous power, targeting all three major factions, she's looking for something. Or someone, Venelana suggested, glancing meaningfully at him. A communication circle flared to life in the center of the room, revealing Azazel's face. The fallen angel leader looked uncharacteristically serious. "Naruto, we've got trouble. Big trouble. Ophis isn't working alone, Rizavim Levon Lucifer has joined her, bringing the remnants of the old Satan faction with him." "Rizavim?" Naruto's expression darkened. The ancient devil had maintained an uneasy neutrality since the peace accords, neither openly supporting nor opposing Naruto's rule. Why would he ally with Ophis? "Opportunity," Grayfia stated coldly. "With the underworld stable under your leadership, his path to power was blocked. Ophis offers him the chaos he needs to seize control." "There's more," Azazel continued grimly. "Kokabil has resurfaced as part of this alliance. And he's brought things with him. Entities that don't match any known species." Venelana moved closer to the display. "What kind of entities?" "Remember those primordials Kokabil mentioned?" Azazel's face was grim. "I think he found a way to partially awaken some of them. My researchers are detecting energy signatures that predate our earliest records." A cold certainty settled in Naruto's gut. The temple incursion was just preparation. Kokabil used the dimensional convergence to establish contact with these primordials. "And now Ophis is helping them manifest fully," Azazel confirmed. "We're facing a multi-front crisis with potentially reality-altering stakes." "Where's their center of operations?" Naruto demanded. Azazel's image flickered as another explosion sounded in the background. "We've traced unusual energy concentrations to the dimensional gap border near the ancient temple. That's likely their focal point." "Then that's where I'm heading," Naruto declared. "Not alone," Venelana and Grayfia stated simultaneously. "Wouldn't dream of it," Naruto managed a tight smile despite the gravity of the situation. "Azazel, coordinate with Heaven's forces. We need a unified response." "Already on it," the fallen angel leader confirmed. "Michael's dispatching Seraphim to critical locations. I'll meet you at the convergence point with my elite guard." As the communication ended, Naruto turned to his commanders. "Establish defensive perimeters around civilian areas. Priority 1 is protecting non-combatants." "And the academy?" Venelana questioned. "Triple the guard," Naruto decided. "But keep it discreet, I don't want to scare the kids more than necessary." As preparations accelerated around them, Naruto pulled Venelana and Grayfia aside. "This isn't just another attack," he told them quietly. "Kurama senses something fundamentally different about Ophis's presence. She's not just fighting us, she's interested in something specific." "Your chakra," Grayfia deduced immediately. "If these primordials share some connection to the tailed beasts as your research suggested, then Kurama's energy might be key to whatever they're planning," Venelana finished. "Which makes me both the biggest target and potentially the best weapon against them," Naruto concluded. "That's why I need you two handling different aspects of our response. Grayfia, you coordinate our defensive strategy here. Venelana, I need you to secure the academy personally. If they can't get to me directly, they might target those I care about." Both women recognized the tactical soundness of his plan, though neither looked pleased about separating. "Very well," Grayfia agreed reluctantly. "But take an elite guard with you. At minimum, you'll need support against Rizavim while dealing with Ophis. And maintain constant communication," Venelana added, activating a small magic circle that attached itself to Naruto's wrist like a bracelet. "This will allow us to track you and communicate regardless of interference." As they prepared to separate, Naruto caught both women in a quick embrace. "Be careful," he told them earnestly. "Whatever Ophis and Rizavim want, it's not worth losing either of you." The simple statement carried more weight than any grand declaration might have. For a moment, the urgency of the crisis receded, leaving only three people who had grown increasingly important to each other. Then reality reasserted itself with another distant explosion, and they parted to their respective duties. The landscape blurred beneath Naruto as he raced toward the convergence point, accompanied by an elite squad of devil warriors. His mind worked furiously, connecting pieces of the puzzle that had begun 6 months ago with his arrival in this world. Kurama, what exactly are you sensing from Ophis? He asked internally. Emptiness, the fox replied. But not the absence of power, rather, power so vast it creates a void around itself. And something else, familiarity. As if her energy recognizes mine. Like the convergence energy did, Naruto noted. Could she be connected to the primordials somehow? Possible. The beings Kokabil called primordials might share origins with the entity the Sage of Six Paths split to create the tailed beasts. The 10 tails, Naruto murmured aloud, drawing curious glances from his escort. The implications were staggering. If the primordials of this world were somehow related to the origin of the tailed beasts in his world, it could explain why he'd been drawn here during his final clash with Sasuke, some resonance between fundamental energies that transcended dimensional boundaries. They crested a hill to find chaos spreading across the valley below. The Convergence Temple, dormant since Naruto had stabilized it a month earlier, now pulsed with malevolent energy. Space itself seemed to warp around it, reality bending unnaturally. And at the center stood a small girl with long black hair and emotionless eyes, facing off against a contingent of angels led by Gabriel. Ophis, one of the devil warriors, whispered fearfully. Naruto studied the infinite dragon god with interest. Despite her childlike appearance, she radiated power beyond anything he'd encountered in this world, a bottomless well of energy that distorted perception itself. Nearby, Rizavim Levon Lucifer directed forces consisting of both devils from the old Satan faction and strange entities that seemed partially formed, shadowy beings that flickered between states of existence. The primordials, Naruto realized. They're not fully manifested yet. Naruto Uzumaki, Gabriel called when she spotted him, relief evident in her voice. Thank the heavens. Ophis is attempting to fully open the dimensional boundary. Why? Naruto demanded, approaching cautiously. What does she want? To return home, came a soft, emotionless voice. Naruto turned to find Ophis herself had appeared beside him, moving with impossible speed. Up close, her childlike appearance was even more disconcerting, ancient power housed in a form that shouldn't be able to contain it. The dimensional gap is my true home, she continued in that same flat tone. Great Red drove me out. I want to return. Your power can open the way. My power? Naruto questioned, staying alert but not attacking. Something told him aggression would be pointless against this being. The nine-tailed fox within you, Ophis clarified. Its energy resonates with the primordials. Together, we can tear open the barriers permanently. Permanently tear open dimensional barriers. Naruto repeated incredulously. That would destroy multiple worlds, including this one. Irrelevant, Ophis stated simply. I will return home. Not by sacrificing innocent lives, Naruto countered, golden chakra beginning to swirl around him. There has to be another way. There is no other way, Ophis replied. The nine-tailed fox's power, combined with mine and the awakening primordials, creates the necessary resonance. You will assist willingly or unwillingly. The outcome is inevitable. With that declaration, she raised a small hand. The gesture appeared almost casual, yet it sent Naruto flying backward with such force that he crashed through several stone formations before skidding to a halt. Okay, he muttered, rising from the rubble, that hurt. Her power is immense, Kurama observed. Perhaps equal to the 10 tails, though different in nature. Yeah, got that impression, Naruto replied, watching as his devil escort engaged some of the shadowy primordial entities while Gabriel's angels clashed with Rizavim's forces. Across the battlefield, Rizavim spotted him and smiled coldly. The interloper arrives, he called mockingly. Come to witness the restoration of the natural order. If by natural order, you mean total chaos, then no thanks, Naruto shot back, creating shadow clones to assist his allies while the original focused on the main threats. You understand nothing, Rizavim sneered. The primordials were the original rulers of all existence before the biblical god imposed artificial separations between realms. With their return, the strong will rule as intended. Let me guess, Naruto replied, and you'll be right at the top of that hierarchy. Convenient belief system you've got there. Rizavim's expression darkened. Mock if you will, but your unprecedented rise to power will end today. Ophis cares only for returning to the gap, she has no interest in what happens to the realms afterward. That's where my new allies and I come in. As if summoned by his words, a familiar figure emerged from the temple entrance, Kokabil, but changed. The fallen angel's form seemed partially merged with something else, his wings now numbering 16 instead of 12, their substance shifting between physical matter and shadowy energy. Enjoying the renovations? Kokabil laughed, his voice layered with otherworldly echoes. The primordials are generous with their power when properly summoned. You merged with them, Naruto realized with disgust. That's why you were so interested in the temple, not just to reach the primordials, but to absorb their power. The first of many evolutions, Kokabil confirmed. Soon, all who serve our cause will be similarly elevated. Around the battlefield, Naruto noticed some of Rizavim's followers undergoing disturbing transformations, their devil forms warping as shadowy energy infused them. Not all survived the process, many collapsed into withering husks as the foreign power overwhelmed them. You're sacrificing your own people, Naruto accused Rizavim. Weeding out the weak, the ancient devil corrected coldly. Those worthy will transcend their current limitations. The rest are merely fuel for the greater transformation. Before Naruto could respond, Ophis appeared beside him again. Enough discussion. You will contribute your power now. This time her attack came as a pulse of pure force that even Kurama's chakra couldn't fully deflect. Naruto felt something fundamental in his energy being pulled, as if Ophis were tugging directly on the connection between him and Kurama. She's trying to extract my chakra specifically, Kurama growled, resisting the pull. Forcibly separating us. Not happening, Naruto gritted, focusing his will against the extraction attempt. Years of partnership had forged their bond beyond mere containment. Kurama wasn't just sealed within him anymore, they were genuine partners whose energies had harmonized. Ophis frowned slightly, the first expression she'd shown. Interesting. Your connection is different from what the records indicated. No matter. She intensified her effort, causing Naruto to drop to one knee as pain lanced through his chakra network. Around them, the battlefield erupted in larger clashes as Azazel arrived with his forces, engaging Kokabil's transformed followers. Naruto! Azazel called, trying to reach him but cut off by Rizavim's intervention. Your concern is touching, Rizavim mocked the fallen angel leader, but the fox belongs to Ophis now. Focus on your own survival. Naruto's vision blurred as Ophis's extraction attempt intensified. He felt Kurama's power being forcibly pulled toward the temple, where the dimensional boundary pulsed in sync with the extraction. Then, unexpectedly, a blast of pure destructive energy struck Ophis from behind. The attack didn't harm her, but it disrupted her concentration enough to break the extraction process. Step away from him, came a cold, commanding voice. Venelana Gremory stood at the edge of the battlefield, her hand extended from the attack she'd just launched. But this wasn't the diplomatic, composed noblewoman Naruto had come to know, this was something else entirely. Power rolled off her in waves, her eyes glowing with the distinctive Gremory destructive magic, but amplified beyond anything he'd seen from even the most powerful devils. The ground beneath her feet cracked from the pressure of her unleashed aura. Lady Gremory, Rizavim acknowledged with mocking respect. How unexpected. I thought you'd retired from actual combat centuries ago. Some threats warrant breaking retirement, she replied evenly, moving to stand protectively near Naruto as he recovered from Ophis's attack. You okay? She asked without taking her eyes off their enemies. Been better, Naruto admitted, rising shakily. Didn't expect to see you here. What about the academy? Secure, she assured him. And in capable hands. My place is here. Ophis observed the exchange with mild curiosity. Another connection. Interesting. You form bonds easily for one so powerful. It's called having friends, Naruto retorted. You should try it sometime instead of trying to destroy multiple worlds. Friends are irrelevant to my goal, Ophis replied tonelessly. As are worlds. Only returning to the dimensional gap matters. Then we have a fundamental disagreement, Venelana stated, her power continuing to build. Because the worlds you consider irrelevant contain everything we hold dear. With that, she unleashed a barrage of attacks that would have annihilated any normal opponent. Against Ophis, they merely created space, pushing the dragon god back temporarily while Naruto fully regained his footing. I didn't know you could do that, Naruto commented, impressed by the display of raw power. There's much about me you don't know, Venelana replied with the ghost of a smile. I wasn't always just a diplomat. Before marrying into House Gremory, I was considered one of the most promising combat devils of my generation. Promising is an understatement, Ryzavim called, circling them warily. They called her the Crimson Extinction Princess. The bloodline that would later produce Surzek's Lucifer's power of destruction originated with her. Ancient history, Venelana dismissed. Currently, we have more pressing concerns. Indeed, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The temple's dimensional boundary continued to fluctuate, each pulse bringing more shadowy primordial entities partially into existence. Kokabil directed these half-formed beings against the combined devil, angel, and fallen angel forces, while Ophis methodically worked to widen the dimensional tear. We need to close that breach, Naruto determined, analyzing the battlefield. Like I did before, but the opposite problem, instead of stabilizing it, we need to shut it down completely. The only way to do that is to eliminate the power source forcing it open, Venelana assessed. Ophis herself. Easier said than done, Naruto grimaced. She shrugged off your attacks like they were nothing. I was merely creating distance, Venelana clarified. A serious attempt would require more preparation. Something in her tone caught Naruto's attention. What kind of preparation? Before she could answer, another massive explosion rocked the battlefield as Grayfia arrived, bringing reinforcements and immediately engaging Ryzavim directly. You abandoned your post, the ancient devil taunted as they exchanged devastating magical attacks. How unlike the perfect queen. My post is wherever I'm most needed, Grayfia replied coldly, ice magic crystallizing the air around them. And right now, that's here, stopping you. Naruto watched with a mixture of awe and concern as Grayfia matched Ryzavim blow for blow. Her power, normally so controlled, now unleashed fully, revealed why she had been considered the strongest queen in devil history. She can't maintain that level indefinitely, Venelana noted with concern. Ryzavim has ages of experience and reserves to draw upon. Then we need to end this quickly, Naruto decided, his resolve hardening. I have an idea, but I'll need cover to prepare. What are you planning? Venelana asked sharply. Something risky, he admitted. A technique that combines Sage Mode, Kurama's chakra, and the demonic energy I've absorbed from this world. I've been working on it theoretically, but haven't had a safe opportunity to test it. And you think an apocalyptic battle is the right time for experimentation? Despite her words, Venelana's tone held more resignation than criticism. When is there ever a good time? Naruto grinned briefly before his expression turned serious again. I'll need about 2 minutes to gather the necessary energy. You'll have it, Venelana promised, her own power flaring anew. And more. She pressed a communication device, connecting with Grayfia and Azazel simultaneously. The Devil King requires 2 minutes of uninterrupted preparation. Full defensive formation, effective immediately. The response was immediate and coordinated. Grayfia redoubled her assault on Ryzavim, forcing the ancient devil away from Naruto's position. Azazel directed his forces to create a perimeter, while Gabriel's angels formed a flying shield above. At the center of this protective formation, Naruto closed his eyes, entering Sage Mode first. The natural energy of the underworld felt different from that of his home world, darker, more concentrated, but still accessible to his trained senses. Are you certain about this? Kurama questioned internally. Combining three distinct energy types has never been attempted, even by the sage himself. No choice, Naruto replied mentally. Regular techniques won't work against Ophis. We need something she's never seen before, something that resonates with the dimensional energies she's manipulating. As Sage Mode stabilized, Naruto began channeling Kurama's chakra simultaneously, creating the familiar golden cloak that had become his signature in this world. But instead of stopping there, he reached for a third energy source, the ambient demonic power that permeated the underworld itself. During his 6 months as Devil King, he'd gradually acclimated to this energy, learning its patterns and flows. Now, he pulled it into the mixture, attempting to harmonize three fundamentally different power sources within his body. The pain was immediate and intense, like being torn apart from the inside. His chakra network strained under the conflicting energies, threatening to rupture entirely. Steady, Kurama guided, adjusting his own chakra flow to better accommodate the mixture. Let them harmonize naturally rather than forcing alignment. Outside his meditation, the battle intensified as their enemies realized something significant was happening. Ophis paused her work on the dimensional boundary, turning her full attention to Naruto. He attempts fusion, she observed with the first hint of concern in her voice. Prevent this. Rysavim and Kokabil redoubled their efforts to break through the defensive formation, while Ophis herself launched a direct attack, a beam of null energy that threatened to erase everything in its path. Venelana intercepted it with her own power of destruction, the two opposing forces creating a cataclysmic deadlock between them. The strain showed immediately on her face, while Ophis remained expressionless despite the enormous energy expenditure. Whatever you're doing, Venelana called to Naruto through gritted teeth, do it faster. Inside his meditative state, Naruto felt the energies beginning to align, not fighting each other anymore but creating something new. The golden chakra cloak transformed, taking on a deeper hue with patterns of purple and green energy swirling through it like northern lights. Almost there, he murmured, feeling the technique stabilize. Just need to control the output. A scream of pain shattered his concentration. He opened his eyes to see Venelana driven to her knees, her defense finally overwhelmed by Ophis's attack. The dragon god advanced implacably toward her fallen form. Your interference ends, Ophis stated flatly, raising her hand for a finishing blow. No. Naruto roared, abandoning the careful completion of his technique to launch himself between them. The partially stabilized energies erupted chaotically as he moved, creating a shockwave that rippled across the battlefield. The resulting power wasn't the controlled technique he'd planned, but raw, primal force fueled by emotion as much as energy. Ophis's attack met this chaotic barrier and, unexpectedly, dissipated against it. For the first time, genuine surprise registered on the dragon god's face. Impossible, she stated. Your energies should not harmonize this way. Naruto stood protectively over Venelana, the tricolored energy cloak swirling wildly around him. Yeah, I get that a lot, he replied, helping Venelana to her feet. You okay? I'll live, she assured him, though blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. But that wasn't the 2 minutes you needed. Plans change, he shrugged. Besides, I think I figured out something important. He turned his attention back to Ophis. You can't predict what I can do because my energy doesn't follow the rules of this world, does it? That's why you want Kurama's power specifically. The Nine Tails represents void in the original matrix, Ophis confirmed. Without it, the dimensional key remains incomplete. Void, Naruto repeated, pieces clicking into place. That's your aspect too, isn't it? Emptiness. You and Kurama represent the same fundamental force, just in different worlds. Correct, Ophis acknowledged. Which is why his power belongs with mine. The current arrangement is unnatural. Maybe to you, Naruto countered, feeling Kurama's agreement resonating through their bond. But from where I stand, partnerships beat lonely power any day. The dragon god's expression remained blank, but her next attack came with increased intensity, waves of null energy that threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality around them. Naruto countered with his chaotic tri-energy shield, the powers clashing in spectacular fashion. The battlefield trembled under the conflict of fundamental forces, creating localized dimensional distortions that warped space itself. Nearby, Grayfia continued her battle with Rhizavim, her perfect composure finally showing cracks as exhaustion set in. The ancient devil pressed his advantage mercilessly. Your new king will fall, Rhizavim taunted as he launched another barrage of attacks. And with him, everything you've helped build. The old order returns, with the primordial's blessing. You understand nothing about what we've built, Grayfia replied, gathering her remaining strength for a decisive move. It was never about replacing one ruler with another. No. Rhizavim mocked. Then what was the point of crowning the dimensional traveler as your king? Not to have a king, Grayfia stated coldly. But to have a future. With that declaration, she unleashed her ultimate technique, Ice Coffin Eternal. The temperature dropped catastrophically as magic circles formed around Rhizavim, each layer amplifying the freezing effect exponentially. The ancient devil countered with his own magic, but found himself gradually encased in ice that no normal power could melt, a technique Grayfia had developed but never used, even during the Civil War, due to its potentially lethal nature. You would kill me? Rhizavim asked incredulously as the ice reached his chest. The perfect, honorable queen. For the future we're building, Grayfia confirmed without hesitation, yes. The ice completely encased him, creating a perfect crystal coffin that contained the ancient devil in suspended animation, not dead, but removed from the conflict. The effort cost Grayfia dearly. She collapsed to one knee, her normally perfect appearance disheveled, breathing labored as magical exhaustion took its toll. Across the battlefield, Azazel and Gabriel coordinated their forces against Kokabil's transformed army. The fallen angel leader had created a massive light spear that pulsed with technological enhancements. Your little merger with the primordials has one critical weakness, Azazel called to his former subordinate. You sacrificed stability for power. He hurled the enhanced spear, which split into thousands of smaller projectiles mid-flight. Each contained a specific frequency designed to disrupt the merger between Kokabil's original form and the primordial energy he'd absorbed. Where they struck, Kokabil's transformed body began to separate, the shadowy primordial energy pulling away from his physical form amidst his howls of rage and pain. No. The power is mine. Mine to command. Kokabil screamed as his enhanced form destabilized. Science beats blind ambition, Azazel retorted. You should have paid more attention to my research instead of dismissing it as useless theory. With Kokabil's transformation reversing and Rhizavim contained, the battle's dynamic shifted dramatically. The remaining enemies lost coordination, fighting individually rather than as a cohesive force. Only Ophis remained unaffected, her assault on Naruto continuing with unwavering intensity. Their clashing energies created a vortex at the center of the battlefield, pulling in lesser combatants who strayed too close. You cannot maintain this fusion indefinitely, Ophis observed as Naruto's chaotic energy shield flickered. Your physical form has limitations that mine does not. She was right. Despite the incredible power of his tri-energy technique, Naruto felt his body straining under the conflicting forces. Sweat poured down his face as he fought to maintain the harmonization that had happened accidentally in his moment of desperation to save Venelana. Maybe not, he acknowledged, breathing heavily. But I don't need indefinite. I just need enough. Enough for what? Ophis questioned, genuine curiosity in her tone. Naruto grinned despite the strain. Enough for her to get ready. Ophis turned just as Venelana reappeared, having used Naruto's distraction to complete her own preparation. The noblewoman no longer looked injured or exhausted, instead, she radiated power that rivaled Surzek's at his peak, her entire form glowing with crimson energy. Destruction release, crimson annihilation, Venelana intoned, her voice echoing with power. What followed wasn't a directed attack but an expanding field of pure destructive energy that discriminated between targets with impossible precision, harmful to enemies while passing harmlessly through allies. It was a legendary technique that had earned Venelana her fearsome reputation centuries ago, before she'd chosen the path of diplomacy over warfare. The crimson field washed over the battlefield, disintegrating the remaining shadowy primordial entities and forcing even Ophis to defend herself rather than continue attacking Naruto. Now! Venelana called to him. While she's occupied. Naruto seized the opportunity, pushing through his exhaustion to properly complete the tri-energy fusion he'd begun earlier. This time, without combat pressure, he managed to stabilize the chaotic mixture, creating a perfect harmony between sage energy, Kurama's chakra, and the underworld's demonic power. The result wasn't the wild, uncontrolled force from earlier, but a focused, directed power that responded precisely to his will. The energy cloak around him settled into a deep indigo color with golden and emerald patterns flowing through it like constellations. Dimensional harmonic, three worlds convergence, Naruto named the technique as he completed it, feeling the perfect balance of energies resonating through his body. With this newfound stability, he turned his attention to the real problem, the temple's dimensional boundary, still fluctuating dangerously as it threatened to tear permanently. Sorry, Ophis, he called to the dragon god, who was still contending with Venelana's technique. I know you want to go home, but not at the cost of everyone else's homes. Moving with speed that surprised even himself, Naruto reached the temple entrance in an instant. The dimensional tear pulsed chaotically, multiple realities visible through its unstable surface. Placing his hands directly on the boundary, he channeled his harmonized energy into the tear itself. Rather than attempting to force it closed through brute strength, he worked with the natural frequencies of the dimensional fabric, using his tri-energy technique to encourage realignment rather than disruption. It was the opposite approach to what Ophis and Kokabil had attempted. Instead of tearing reality apart, he mended it by finding its natural harmony. What are you doing? Ophis demanded, breaking away from Venelana to approach the temple. Stop this immediately. I'm fixing what you broke, Naruto replied, not pausing in his work. But maybe we can reach a compromise. There is no compromise, Ophis stated flatly. I must return home. Yeah, I get that, Naruto acknowledged. Wanting to go home is something I understand completely. But there's a right way and a wrong way. As he spoke, the dimensional tear began to stabilize, not closing entirely but no longer threatening to expand catastrophically. The chaotic energy patterns settled into more predictable rhythms, responding to Naruto's harmonizing influence. I think I can create a controlled passage, he offered, surprising both Ophis and himself with the realization. Not a permanent tear, but a stable doorway that you could use without destroying everything else. Ophis paused, considering this unexpected proposal. You would help me return to the dimensional gap, after I attempted to take your power by force. That's kind of what I do, Naruto shrugged, still focusing on stabilizing the boundary. Find alternatives when everyone else sees only conflict. Besides, your goal isn't actually evil, you just want to go home. I can respect that. For the first time, Ophis's emotionless expression softened slightly. You are unusual. So I've been told, Naruto grinned. With the dimensional boundary stabilizing, the immediate crisis began to subside. The remaining enemy forces, seeing their leaders defeated or redirected, either surrendered or fled. Azazel, Gabriel, and Grayfia coordinated their respective factions in securing the battlefield while Venelana maintained her position near Naruto, ready to intervene if Ophis changed her mind. Working methodically, Naruto reshaped the chaotic tear into a controlled portal, small enough to prevent catastrophic leakage between dimensions, but stable enough to serve as a passage for those with sufficient power to traverse it. There, he finally announced, stepping back from his handiwork. It's not permanent, but it should last long enough for you to return home. After that, it will seal itself naturally. Ophis examined the portal with curious intensity. The harmonization pattern is elegant. I did not believe such precision was possible with organic energy manipulation. Having 3 different energy sources helps, Naruto admitted. Each balances the others. The dragon god turned her attention from the portal to Naruto himself. You are an anomaly, Naruto Uzumaki. Your existence defies established patterns. Thanks. Naruto replied, uncertain whether this was compliment or criticism. It was an observation, Ophis clarified. One with significant implications. The 9 tails within you is indeed connected to the primordial matrix, but your bond has transformed its fundamental nature. This, partnership, as you call it, creates possibilities I had not calculated. She approached the portal, pausing at its threshold. I will withdraw my forces and return to the dimensional gap as you have enabled. In exchange, I offer information. The connection between your world and this one is not accident but design. The being you call the Sage of 6 Paths and the biblical god of this world once worked together, creating parallel systems of power that mirrored each other across dimensional boundaries. The revelation stunned Naruto. The sage and god knew each other. How is that possible? They were contemporaries in the original unified reality, before the separation of dimensions, Ophis explained tonelessly. What you call chakra and what this world calls magic are divergent expressions of the same primordial energy, deliberately designed to develop along different evolutionary paths. So my ending up here was always a possibility, if remote, Ophis confirmed. The systems were designed to resonate under specific circumstances. Your clash with the Uchiha created those circumstances. Without waiting for further questions, the dragon god stepped through the portal, vanishing in a flash of light. The remaining shadowy primordial entities followed, drawn back to their original dimension by forces beyond comprehension. As the portal gradually began to close behind them, Naruto stood stunned by the implications of what Ophis had revealed. If the Sage of 6 Paths and the biblical god had collaborated across dimensions, everything he thought he knew about his world's history required reconsideration. Naruto. Venelana approached cautiously, her power receding now that the immediate threat had passed. Are you alright? Yeah, he managed, disengaging his tri-energy technique with a deep exhale. Just processing some world-shattering revelations, no big deal. Grayfia joined them, looking exhausted but composed once more. The battlefield is secured. Rizavim remains contained in the ice coffin, though it will require significant magical resources to maintain his imprisonment long-term. And Kokabil? Naruto asked. Captured by Azazel, Grayfia reported. The separation from the primordial energy left him severely weakened. He'll face judgment from all 3 factions for his actions. Naruto nodded, then swayed slightly as the toll of his new technique finally caught up with him. Venelana and Grayfia moved to support him immediately, one on each side. You need rest, Venelana stated firmly. That energy combination was unprecedented and clearly taxing. No argument here, Naruto agreed wearily. But first, we need to secure that portal until it closes completely. Just in case any stragglers decide to come through. Azazel approached, looking uncharacteristically serious despite his disheveled appearance. My team can handle the portal monitoring. You 3 have done enough for one apocalypse. 3 factions working together, Gabriel observed as she joined them, her wings slightly tattered but her serene expression intact. Perhaps some good has come from this crisis after all. Naruto managed a tired smile. Silver linings, right? As they prepared to return to the castle, he cast one last glance at the slowly closing portal. Ophis's revelations had opened more questions than they'd answered, but one thing seemed increasingly clear, his arrival in this world hadn't been mere chance. Whether by design or cosmic coincidence, his path had led him exactly where he needed to be. 3 days later, Naruto stood on his castle balcony, watching the underworld sunset paint alien constellations across the purple sky. His body had finally recovered from the strain of the tri-energy technique, though Kurama had warned him against using it regularly. The harmonization is fascinating but dangerous, the fox had cautioned. Our chakra system wasn't designed to channel demonic energy for extended periods. Noted, Naruto had agreed. Emergency use only. Now, reflecting on everything that had happened, he felt a strange sense of completion. The crisis had been averted, the peace process had gained new momentum with all three factions having fought side by side, and even Ophis, arguably the most dangerous being in existence, had withdrawn peacefully. Yet questions remained, particularly about the connection between his world and this one. If Ophis spoke truth about the sage and god working together, what did that mean for his understanding of chakra? Of the tailed beasts? Of his own purpose in coming here? The sound of approaching footsteps interrupted his contemplation. Venelana and Grayfia arrived together, both having shed their formal attire for simpler clothing, a rare sight that spoke to the private nature of this meeting. Brooding again? Venelana teased gently. Reflecting, Naruto corrected with a smile. There's a difference. Indeed, Grayfia agreed, setting a tray with 3 teacups on the small table. One involves productive consideration, the other melancholy self-indulgence. Which do you think I'm doing? Naruto asked, accepting a cup. Both, knowing you, Venelana replied, taking her own cup. The crisis is resolved, yet you seem unsettled. Naruto sighed, gazing back at the horizon. Ophis said my ending up here wasn't an accident. That the Sage of Six Paths, basically the god of my world, worked with the god of this world to create systems that could connect under specific circumstances. And this troubles you? Grayfia inquired. It makes me wonder if I had any real choices, Naruto admitted. Was I just following some path laid out centuries ago? Did I ever have free will, or was I always meant to end up here, becoming the Devil King? The women exchanged glances before Venelana spoke. Does it matter? Whether by chance or design, your actions here were your own. The changes you've made, the connections you've formed, those came from your heart, not some cosmic blueprint. She's right, Grayfia added with unusual gentleness. Predetermined arrival doesn't equal predetermined actions. You could have chosen many different paths once here. I guess, Naruto acknowledged, finding comfort in their perspective. Still, it's weird thinking the sage might have known about this world, about devils and angels and everything. Perhaps that knowledge was lost over time, Venelana suggested. Many of our oldest records were destroyed during the Great War. The same may have happened in your world. They fell into companionable silence, watching as the last light faded from the underworld sky, revealing unfamiliar stars that somehow felt less alien to Naruto than they once had. The 3 factions summit is tomorrow, Grayfia eventually noted. The first official gathering of all faction leaders since the crisis. Your presence will be expected early. I'll be there, Naruto assured her. Though I'm still not used to being the centerpiece at these things. You've earned their respect, Venelana stated simply. Even Michael has acknowledged your role in preserving the balance between worlds. Another silence fell, this one charged with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Naruto turned to face both women directly. During the battle, he began carefully, when everything was chaotic and we didn't know if we'd survive, there were things unsaid between us. Things I think we all felt but didn't have time to express. Venelana set down her teacup. And now that the crisis has passed, you wish to address those things. If you're both willing, Naruto confirmed, unusually serious. These past months, working together, facing challenges, something has grown between us. Something I never expected when I landed in this world. Shared purpose creates powerful bonds, Grayfia observed neutrally, though her eyes betrayed deeper emotions. It's more than that, Naruto countered gently. And I think you both know it. The 3 regarded each other in the moonlight, the pretense of casual conversation finally set aside. In Devil Society, Venelana explained after a moment, powerful males often form bonds with multiple partners. It's practically expected among the nobility. I'm not interested in devil customs, Naruto replied. I'm interested in how the three of us actually feel, without politics or traditions or expectations. Then perhaps we should speak plainly, Grayfia suggested, her composed facade softening. I have developed feelings for you that I believed impossible after Surzex. This was unexpected and, initially, unwelcome. Unwelcome? Naruto questioned, surprised by her candor. I considered my capacity for such attachment ended with his death, she explained simply. I was incorrect. Venelana smiled softly. While I've been perhaps less subtle about my interest, I too found myself unprepared for its depth. You arrived as an anomaly to be managed, became an ally to be supported, and somehow transformed into someone essential. Naruto felt warmth spreading through his chest at their honesty. For someone who spent most of his life feeling alone, finding connection in another world, with both of you, it's more than I ever imagined possible. And yet, Grayfia noted perceptively, something still troubles you. Naruto nodded reluctantly. My world. My friends there. With everything Ophis revealed, I wonder if I should try to find a way back, at least to let them know I'm alive. That I found a place where I'm needed. A legitimate concern, Venelana acknowledged. One we've considered as well. You have? Naruto looked surprised. Of course, Grayfia confirmed. Your attachment to your original world is part of who you are. To ignore that would be to love only a portion of you, not the whole. The simple statement, including the tacit admission of love, left Naruto momentarily speechless. Ajuka believes controlled dimensional communication might be possible, Venelana continued. Not physical travel, at least not yet, but perhaps a method of sending messages between worlds. He's been researching it since your return from the Convergence Temple. Really? Hope flared in Naruto's chest. That would be incredible. Just to let them know I'm okay, that I found something important here. We thought you might feel that way, Venelana smiled gently. Connection to your past doesn't diminish your presence in our future. The three moved closer together, the barriers of formality and uncertainty finally falling away. Under the alien stars of the underworld, they embraced, not as Devil King and advisors, not as political allies, but as three people who had found each other across impossible odds. So what happens now? Naruto asked softly, one arm around each woman's waist. Now, Grayfia replied with unusual warmth, we continue building what we started, peace between factions, stability for the underworld, protection for those who cannot protect themselves. And us? Naruto pressed gently. We build that too, Venelana answered, meeting his gaze directly. Day by day, moment by moment, without rushing or forcing what develops naturally. I like that plan, Naruto smiled, feeling more at peace than he had since arriving in this world. Above them, the underworld sky shimmered with possibilities, while below, a realm once defined by eternal conflict continued its transformation under the guidance of a shinobi who had crossed dimensions to find an unexpected home. 5 years later the Peace Academy's graduation ceremony filled the grand amphitheater with representatives from all three factions. Devils, angels, and fallen angels sat side by side, watching proudly as the first fully integrated class received their diplomas. Naruto stood at the podium, resplendent in formal robes that still maintained touches of orange, his trademark refusal to fully conform to traditional expectations. At 30, his features had matured, though his bright blue eyes retained their characteristic determination and warmth. 5 years ago, he addressed the gathered crowd, many thought this academy was an impossible dream. Devils, angels, and fallen angels learning together. Preposterous. Laughter rippled through the audience, the once radical concept now accepted reality. But today, looking at these graduates, I see living proof that the boundaries that divided our factions for millennia were never as fixed as we believed. These young people have learned not just magic and combat, but understanding, cooperation, and respect across traditional divides. In the front row, Mila, the silver-haired devil girl who had once clung to Naruto after being rescued from rubble, sat proudly as class valedictorian. Beside her, representatives from each faction demonstrated the diversity of the graduating class. Your generation, Naruto continued, will face challenges we cannot predict. But you'll face them together, with perspectives and abilities no single faction could develop alone. That's the true power of what we've built here, not just coexistence, but genuine cooperation that makes all of us stronger. From their privileged positions near the stage, Venelana and Grayfia watched with quiet pride. Both had been instrumental in the Academy's development, Venelana overseeing curriculum that honored each faction's traditions while promoting mutual understanding, Grayfia ensuring security and diplomatic considerations were perfectly balanced. The changes in the underworld extended far beyond education. The once rigid hierarchy had evolved into a more meritocratic system, with representatives from all classes having voices in governance. The old Satan faction, after Rizabim's defeat and imprisonment, had gradually reintegrated, many finding that the new system offered opportunities previously denied them under traditional structures. Relations with heaven had normalized to an unprecedented degree. Michael and Gabriel were regular visitors to the underworld, participating in collaborative research and cultural exchanges. Even Azazel had found purpose beyond his usual mischief, heading a joint faction research initiative that explored the boundaries between worlds. As Naruto concluded his address and the graduates received their diplomas, Kurama's voice rumbled through his mind. You've done well, Kit. This place has transformed more in 5 years than the elemental nations did in generations. We did well, Naruto corrected mentally. Couldn't have done it without you. The fox's rumbling chuckle conveyed both amusement and pride. Their partnership had evolved further over the years, with Kurama taking a more active role in underworld affairs, occasionally manifesting separately from Naruto to participate in diplomatic functions or academy demonstrations. After the ceremony, as families celebrated with their graduates, Naruto found a quiet moment with Venelana and Grayfia in the academy gardens. 5 years had deepened their connection beyond what any of them had imagined possible, creating a partnership that balanced each person's strengths and supported their individual goals. Another successful graduation, Venelana noted with satisfaction. Each class larger and more diverse than the last. Ajuka reports applications for next year have increased 30%, Grayfia added. Including several from human families with supernatural awareness. That's new, Naruto observed, intrigued by the development. Humans attending alongside the 3 factions. The council will have opinions about that. Let them opine, Venelana dismissed with a wave. The evidence speaks for itself. Integration strengthens all participants. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a small, energetic child with bright red hair and whisker marks on his cheeks. At 3 years old, Minato Uzumaki Gremory embodied the new reality they had created, the first child born of devil and human with tail beast heritage, his existence once thought impossible. Papa, he called excitedly, launching himself into Naruto's arms. I saw the big kids graduate. Will I go to school here too? When you're older, Naruto promised, swinging the boy up onto his shoulders. Right now, you're still my little academy recruit in training. Grayfia adjusted the child's collar with practiced precision. Your brother is looking for you, she informed him. He wanted to show you the new light manipulation technique he mastered. Minato's eyes widened with excitement. Can I go see? Of course, Naruto set him down. Just stay with your brother and don't wander off. As the child raced away to find his 7-year-old half-brother, Grayfia and Naruto's son, who had inherited his mother's silver hair and his father's boundless energy, Venelana smiled fondly. He grows more like you every day, she observed. The same inability to sit still for more than 3 minutes. Hey, I've gotten better, Naruto protested good-naturedly. I sat through that 4-hour council meeting last week without creating a single shadow clone to escape. We noticed, Grayfia replied dryly. And were suitably impressed. Their easy banter reflected years of shared experiences, challenges faced together, compromises negotiated, and a deep mutual understanding that transcended conventional relationships. The communication device on Naruto's wrist chimed softly. Ah, perfect timing, he noted, checking the message. Ajuka's ready for the test. Together, they made their way to a specialized laboratory beneath the academy, a space created specifically for dimensional research. Ajuka Beelzebub, brilliant as ever, had spent years refining the theories sparked by Naruto's experiences with the convergence. Devil King, the green-haired devil, greeted them formally, then relaxed into his more natural scientific enthusiasm. The modifications worked perfectly. We've established a stable resonance pattern that should allow direct communication for approximately 3 minutes. To my world. Naruto confirmed, excitement and nervousness mingling in his voice. You're sure? As sure as dimensional physics allows, Ajuka qualified. Which is to say, reasonably confident but with acknowledged margins of uncertainty. After dozens of failed attempts over the years, they had finally developed a method to create a temporary communication window between dimensions. Not physical travel, that remained beyond their capabilities, but a chance for Naruto to speak with those he'd left behind. Do you want privacy? Venelana asked softly. Naruto shook his head. No. You're part of this too. All of you. As Ajuka activated the complex array of magical circles and technological components, a shimmering portal appeared, not large enough for physical passage, but sufficient to transmit sight and sound. At first showing only swirling energy, it gradually resolved into a familiar image, the Hokage's office in Konohagakure. Naruto's breath caught as he recognized the figure sitting at the desk, poring over paperwork with a familiar expression of resigned irritation. Kakashi-sensei, he breathed. The silver-haired Hokage looked up sharply, visible eye widening in shock. Naruto, he exclaimed, standing so quickly his chair toppled backward. Is that really you? Yeah, Naruto confirmed, emotion thickening his voice. It's me. We don't have much time, the connection's only stable for a few minutes. Where are you? Kakashi demanded, approaching the portal from his side. We searched for months after you disappeared during the battle with Sasuke. It's a long story, Naruto replied with a watery smile. Short version, I ended up in another dimension. A place called the Underworld. I've found a place here. Built something important. As succinctly as possible, Naruto explained the highlights of his 5 years away, becoming Devil King, establishing peace between factions, his family with Venelana and Grayfia. Kakashi listened with growing amazement. Only you, the Hokage finally said, shaking his head in fond exasperation. Only you could fall into another dimension and end up ruling it within 6 months. Naruto laughed. To be fair, it was a pretty unusual situation. Sakura and the others will be devastated to have missed this, Kakashi said. They're on a diplomatic mission to Suna. Tell them I'm okay, Naruto requested earnestly. That I miss them, but I'm where I need to be. I've found my path. And Sasuke? Kakashi asked carefully. Survived our battle, I'm guessing. Naruto inferred. Kakashi nodded. He's been working to atone. Actually became quite dedicated to protecting the village after you disappeared. I think he feels responsible. Tell him it wasn't his fault, Naruto insisted. If anything, our clash created exactly the circumstances needed for me to find my way here. As they spoke, the portal began to flicker, its stability deteriorating. We're losing the connection, Ajuka warned. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said urgently, I don't know if we'll be able to establish contact again. Just know that I'm happy. I have a family, important work, and I'm using everything you and Jiraiya-sensei taught me. You've grown up well, Kakashi observed with pride evident in his voice. Minato and Kushina would be proud. As am I. Thank you, Naruto replied, blinking back tears. For everything. Tell everyone. The portal collapsed, the connection severed as the dimensional window closed. Naruto stood silently for a moment, processing the brief reunion with his past. We'll try again, Ajuka promised. Now that we've established the frequency, future attempts should be easier. Naruto nodded gratefully, then turned to Venelana and Grayfia, who had remained respectfully silent during the exchange. "Are you alright?" Venelana asked gently. "Yeah," he replied, surprise in his voice as he realized the truth of it. "Actually, I am." Seeing him, knowing they're okay, that they understand, it feels like closure. Grayfia approached, taking his hand in a rare public display of affection. "Your past and present need not be in conflict. Both can exist harmoniously, even across dimensions." Like our trifaction piece, Naruto smiled, squeezing her hand. Different worlds finding balance. As they left the laboratory to rejoin the graduation festivities, Naruto felt a profound sense of completion. The journey that had begun with a chaotic arrival in an alien world had led to creation rather than destruction, new bonds, new family, new purpose. The underworld spread before them, transformed from a realm of eternal conflict to one of evolving cooperation. The academy stood as physical proof of what could be accomplished when traditional boundaries were questioned. And their children, impossible miracles born of cross-dimensional love, represented hope for a future that transcended the limitations of the past. "Not bad for a knucklehead who couldn't even create a proper clone at the academy," Kurama observed with gruff affection. "We've come a long way," Naruto agreed, watching as their sons practiced a combination of chakra and magic under the watchful eyes of their teachers, devil techniques smoothly integrated with shinobi fundamentals in a blend that would have seemed impossible just years earlier. Venelana slipped her arm through his on one side, while Grayfia walked with perfect poise on the other. Together, they moved through the celebration, not as Devil King and consorts, but as partners who had found each other against impossible odds and built something that would outlast them all. The will of fire, transplanted to the darkness of the underworld, had not been extinguished but had instead transformed, illuminating new possibilities in a realm once defined by ancient hatreds and unchanging traditions. Naruto Uzumaki, once the outcast of Konoha, had become the Devil King Supreme not through conquest or intimidation, but through the same principles that had guided him from the beginning: protect the vulnerable, believe in people's capacity for change, and never, ever give up on what matters most. Some called it the power of friendship. Others, the stubborn determination of a shinobi. But in the underworld, they had come to know it by a new name: the will of fire in darkness, a light that burned all the brighter for the shadows it had overcome. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.